Round one. Fight!
Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change. No matter what the odds are this time, nothing's gonna stand in my way. It's flame in my heart like a long lost friend.
You want a piece of me? I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing.
On the wings of my dream, rise and fall. On the wings of my dream, the rain and thunder, the wind and haze, I'm bound for better days. My life, my dream, and nothing's gonna stop me now.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're my Perfect Strangers fans out there. Yeah. So hopefully we don't get any copyright strikes for that. Fingers crossed. But I wanted to do it for fun. So yeah. But anyways, welcome to Tier Ranker Fights. This is episode number 49. This is best 80s sitcoms. We've been going through it decade by decade, and we've done a tier ranker for every decade besides 80s, and we still have 70s left to go. So once we do that, we're going to have a championship tier ranker fight with all the top 10s from every episode. So anyways, but I'm your host, Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, or Jordan Balky. Tonight, if you can't tell, I'm a big Perfect Strangers fan, which I haven't watched in a very, very long time, but I remember that and I love it so much. But anyways, we'll go ahead and we'll introduce our panel that we have tonight. We may have a few special guests dropping by a little later. We'll see how it goes. But first up, we have my co-host, Austin Pez Howell. How's it going?
Hello. It's once again time to jump in the time machine all the way back to the 80s. Not particularly my strongest decade of TV watching when I was growing up, because they seemed to like run a lot of the 70s show and syndication. And then I grew up in the 90s, and then the 80s. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen some of these. I can comment on a good amount of them, but I don't know, for whatever reason, they don't play 80s stuff as much as they play like 70s and 90s stuff. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah, right. Well, I kind of think that we're going to have maybe like a definitive top 10, and the rest of that maybe some hit and miss on
a little muddled. Yeah.
All of us have actually seen them, so but we'll see how it goes. But we also have joining us Chris Ingle.
Hello, cousin Jordan. I do the dance of joy.
Yay. Welcome.
I too am a perfect stranger. Let me tell you, I can't really use it in these fights, but that theme song is my favorite 80s theme song.
Yes,
ever.
I know.
It's so good.
It's definitely one of the best. Yep. We also have Matt, aka Soda. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Yeah, I'm a huge Perfect Strangers fan. I sang the whole theme song.
Nice.
Like word for word.
I gotta say, by the way, beat for beat, you really timed it with the editing on that. Like the moments in there were working.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it actually worked pretty well. So,
but yeah, I have actually a weird special connection with this movie because there's a picture of me as a baby with this on in the background, and I remember like when I was a little older asking my mom what it was. She told me what it was, and I had this weird fascination with it until I finally watched it. Absolutely fell in love with the show.
Nice. Yeah. You had a little late to the party. I didn't watch it in its original run, but I think I caught it maybe in like at least like the 4th season, something like that. And then I went back and like tried to track down the episodes, but that was pre-streaming and everything, so you got to watch in like syndication and stuff. So, but
and it's not streaming up here in Canada. I had to buy it, so which I didn't care.
Oh yeah.
But, like, is it streaming down in the States?
I have to look it up and see. I want to say a lot of the shows are on Hulu, but maybe it's not. I haven't looked in a long time, but I'll look it up.
If some reason I found it kind of hard to track down some of these 80s
It says
shows.
it's free on Prime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Hold on. Now I'm gonna go look really quick. Like, I'm like, what?
But
Okay,
also, while
it's
you're-
not free. If you have the IMDb TV, you can.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
IMDb TV is free. Is free with ads, so technically it is free.
Okay,
Okay,
then I'll take
nice.
it.
but last but certainly not least, we have Michael Wolfman joining us. How's it going?
Hello, yeah. Perfect Strangers, I've watched just some of. I never,
Okay.
I did see that on the list, and so I did decide to watch some episodes of it before doing this ranking fight. So I at least am
Nice.
I at least familiarize myself enough with that one, but I have not seen, a lot of these. But I love 80s sitcoms and 90s sitcoms, so I'm big into
Nice.
sitcom genre. So. Yeah.
Well, the
I'm
good thing
talking-
about doing something like this is a good way to get some recommendations for stuff you haven't seen, and even if you haven't seen it all, well, we keep it casual. Like honestly, I've only seen probably about half of what we're going to be talking about tonight. But the stuff that I have seen, I'm really into. So I'm excited to talk about it. So you can just talk about the stuff that you have seen, and that'll work. So.
Yeah, I'm a pop culture junkie, so like I've seen a decent amount of these, but I've heard of almost every one of them.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like,
I've heard of a lot of these. There's only like one or two I haven't heard of, but like a majority of these I've heard of. So
yeah, and I think we'll all get. I think it might all be have to be the same.
Yeah.
The ones we haven't heard.
Yeah. but Austin, I'm gonna have you explain how to do it. But while you explain how everything's gonna work tonight, I was gonna crack on one of these. I'm gonna try it for the first time. Every once in a while, I like to do these. I picked up this weird energy drink that's gonna power me through the show. It's a Warhead, these little ghost energy drinks. So that's what's fueling me through the show. So I'll let you explain the rules. I'm gonna pour me something to drink.
Warhead is making beverages now. I did not know.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's gonna be any good.
Well,
Like,
Anheuser-Busch, it's a ghost brand and at my store in North Carolina, he couldn't find it up there for whatever reason, not yet. But they have 2 Sour Patch flavors as well, blue raspberry and red berry, and they're actually really good, like really, really good. So yeah,
I love the candy. So.
Well, it tastes like the fruit part of those candies, not like it's not like a sour drink. It's just when you get down to the fruit part of the blue raspberry, it's good.
They used to have like a liquid Warheads thing that was like it was sour, but it was like
definitely sour.
It was like
those,
a little liquid packet or something.
Yeah, I like to go to the dollar store to get the Warhead sour key rings.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, those are always fun.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember like when we were in high school, we were like, oh, let's have some Warheads. We're like, oh yeah, like
right. Yeah, you're like trying to keep a straight face.
You get like 10 at once. You just throw them in your mouth.
Like choices were made.
As they slowly eat away the insides of your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
But Austin, do you want to explain how it's going to work?
Yeah.
Tonight? And I'll bring up the tier ranker chart.
Yeah, so while Jordan's bringing up the tier ranker chart there, he's going to line us up on the side over here in a little tower. And how tier ranker works is we got about 40 some change sitcoms from the 80s. Again, I had a few people, asking about some other ones, but essentially all of these are 80s sitcoms. There's a few from the 70s that kind of bled into the 80s, but we consider them more 70s. So if you don't see something on there, it's probably coming up on that show. But yeah, we'll go around the horn. So it'll start with the wolf down there at the bottom. He'll nominate any one of these that you want to talk about, and basically you'll nominate it for a tier. And our tiers are S for superior, so the creme de la creme, the top of the top, and then it goes like grades in school, A, B, C, D, F. There's tiers for not a sitcom. If you think one of these is not a sitcom for whatever reason, and haven't seen, we try to get at least 3 qualified votes to get it up on the chart. So we need at least 3 people to give it a substantial rating. And what we'll be looking for in the end is 10 in the S tier. So whether or not we get 10 actual in the S tier, if we have to bump up a few from the A tier, we'll see. Only 10 in the S tier. And then we pull 3 honorable mentions, and those 10 in the 3 go in our Schmodown Friends and Family Facebook page poll tomorrow. So you'll be able to vote on those after the fact. And yeah, we'll go for about roughly 2 hours or so. And at that point, we go around the horn for a quick speed round, sort of a last chance, a last minute nomination sort of a thing. And then we'll play around with the actual rankings of the 10 and the honorable mentions. So does that make sense to everybody? So basically, once Wolfman down there nominates something, he'll explain why within about a minute or so, and then we'll go around the horn, and everybody can either agree with that, say, yeah, I vote for that as well, or I vote for this ranking instead. And if you haven't seen it, just say you haven't seen it.
So
that's kinda how it works.
when I nominate something, am I like saying I want this on this tier or something?
So essentially, yeah. Let's
Yeah.
say everybody was talking about it. Let's say you nominated your first nomination is Perfect Strangers. You say I want to nominate Perfect Strangers for S tier for the top of the top. I think it's one of the best of the best. And tell us why. Then we'll go around the horn, and everybody else will say yes, I totally agree that should be in the S tier for this reason, or I think it should maybe be in like the B tier for this reason. That sort of thing. And we come to a consensus with everybody's votes. So I keep track of the votes here on a piece of paper and what we're nominating, and we come to an average, a consensus based on the votes. And that's kind of how it works. So if it's overwhelming, it goes up there. If it's kind of split, between like, let's say S and B, it goes in A, that sort of thing. So that's how it works. All right.
Yeah. And if you want a reminder of exactly what's on the list, you can see it there, but a lot of times those graphics are a little hard to read. So I posted it all in the private chat, so you can see the full list there if you need a little reminder that way too. So
Yeah, I got it
But-
on the messenger as well.
Mhm.
yeah. So
So,
but yeah, so we'll just start at the bottom of the ladder, and we'll kind of work our way up the ladder each round. And so Michael, you'll be the first one to nominate something. So what do you want to nominate, and what?
Well,
You go for it.
the name of this show can be used as a greeting. So I don't have a cup on my hand, unfortunately, but
I know where you're going.
but cheers. Everyone.
Cheers.
All right.
I'm going to be I will nominate that for the S tier, honestly. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm putting that on the S tier is just for the influence that it's had on so many sitcoms afterwards. Like it's not only has it been such a big influence on other sitcoms, but it also sparked several big actors' careers, like Woody Harrelson, Ted Danson, stuff like that. And then Ted Danson went on to do so much other TV and stuff like that, and so many other great
Grammer.
roles. Kelsey Grammer, yeah. And then he was in his show Kramer. So it was So there's so I just feel like the legendary status of it and the legacy it built is a really great reason to, and it's just a great show all around. I love Cheers. So
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Sounds good,
I
man.
agree with everything you just said, because I actually, in the middle of my first rewatch, I've taken a little bit of a break, but I got an iTunes gift card for my dad for Christmas, so I was looking on and I got the whole series for $30. So
Oh, nice.
oh yeah, great investment. It is one
Can't
of the
beat that.
funniest things I've ever seen. I love Norm. Coach is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I wish he lasted longer. It deserves to be an S tier.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Absolutely.
Reputation alone, it's worth it. Longevity, it was up to a certain point. It was one of the highest rated finales of all time. Didn't beat MASH, but was one of the highest rating of all time. You couldn't break that. And then the fact that it goes on to spin off Frasier, which goes just as long and brings back so many of those characters. You can go to Boston today and still go to Cheers. You can go sit at Norm's. It's got a legacy to itself that I don't think any other sitcom has, to where it's become reality. You want to go where everybody knows your name. Yeah, I think Cheers and S tier absolutely is perfect. I speak for
And let's not forget the theme song too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly. Yep, where everybody knows your name. Exactly. It's good stuff.
the theme song is great. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just one quick question for the panel. It's just an A or B. Kirstie Alley or that other chick. Shelley Long.
Shelley Long.
I'll tell you which way I go.
Alley.
Shelley Long.
I have a real big thing for. I have a thing for early Christy Alley, like a crush on like in late '80s, early '90s Christy Alley.
Yeah, I think mine
Yeah.
was Shelley, but
Yeah.
I'm a Kirsty person. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree enough with Cheers being an S tier. I think currently it's even still one of the most binge shows, like on Netflix or wherever it is right now, right up there with Friends and stuff. Yeah, a lot of people watching it. And there used to be a thing that it kind of created called the Cheers bump, where a lot of the networks would rally to get their shows in the slot right after Cheers to get that bump because so many people, were watching it, especially near the end. So yeah, that reputation alone precedes it. The cast is fantastic, and writing's great. Yeah, Cheers should be a heavy favorite to be the number one on this list, even out of the 10. So yeah, I'll agree with S tier for Cheers.
And you bring up a great point too about like, there are some sitcoms on here that I'm looking at that, with a few exceptions, some of them are this way, but a lot of these are not haven't made the impact enough to where people are still watching them like on repeat today and revisiting them as much today. Cheers is one that people are constantly going back to today, and it came out in 1982, and people are still going back to it.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, and like me, I mean, I've been. I will rewatch it sometimes. I like to rewatch old 80s sitcoms like right before bed to kind of go to sleep, and kind of do that.
Nice.
And so sometimes I'll just put on like an old episode of Cheers or another sitcom I love. And
yeah, those are my favorite types of. That's usually what I binge are sitcoms, especially from the 80s and 90s.
They're just so much easier because they're also short and quick, and you can just get through them.
Yeah, it's an easy watch.
If you grew up watching them, it's like that warm blanket feeling. It's just like that familiarity.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan.
We have a friend of the show chiming in, Ben Rayner. So he's a big Cheers fan. He likes Frasier even more, which actually isn't as much of a hot take as you would think. I know a lot of people that even prefer Frasier over Cheers.
Well, and Frasier made our top 10 of the 90s show, so they'll be up against each other in the championship, I suspect. So we'll see which one people actually prefer when it comes to that. But Jordan, you with S tier for Cheers?
Oh yeah, for 80s sitcoms for sure. Like I remember when Cheers first started playing in syndication. I remember that like Cheers was on everywhere, so I got a little sick of it to begin with. I just like, man, they're gonna play this thing they're gonna play it to death. They're gonna really run it into the ground, and I'm just like, man, it's like every night they would always show reruns of Cheers after all my favorite shows. It would just keep coming on, but after a while, I really grew to actually really love Cheers a lot. And a sad fact is sorry to be a little bit of a downer, but I just looked up that due to the coronavirus and the pandemic, the Cheers bar actually had to shut down because of some issues from that. So it's actually no longer open anymore, which is a shame that you can no longer go there. They actually closed August 30th, 2021. So yeah, unfortunately, but it's still an iconic place, and I think they still do have the sign up. You can go and at least get a picture from the outside, But I'm gonna agree with S tier. Yeah,
and it turns a big milestone this year. It turns 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
40 years old. Like you're making me feel too old. Like, man, it's already 40. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go to Matt next. What's your first nomination? And just a reminder, everybody, you don't have to nominate something for S tier every single time. You can go for a lower one, but if you want to try to get those S tiers up there, early and often, you're welcome to do so as well. So just put that out there.
Which is what I'm gonna do.
Matt.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to nominate Perfect Strangers. I mean, my vote is that one right out.
Gotta get out of the way.
Like I said,
here we go. Yeah.
I have that special connection with this show, like I said. And then when I finally years ago, I bought the first 2 seasons. I watched them. I really liked them. Never really got past that. But then a couple of years during COVID, actually, the beginning of COVID, I decided to finally buy the entire series and watched it for the first time and absolutely fell in love with it. It's in my top 5 favorite sitcoms. Balki Bartakamus is such an important character to me that I actually did a short D&D campaign where my character was based off Balki Bartakamus.
Oh, nice.
So This means everything to me. Plus, it's hilarious. The chemistry between
Bronson
the name-
Pinchot,
yeah, Bronson Pinchot, but
Larry Miller.
Mark Lynn Baker.
Mark Lynn Baker.
Oh, I was.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Chemistry
His
between
cousin
them.
Larry. Never mind.
You believe that they're best friends. You believe that they're cousins. The two ladies of the show are amazing. Ernie Sabella was great when he was in there in the beginning. It's just this show I feel is underrated in a way like you don't ever hear it in the conversation for great sitcoms, which I think is sad. It deserves to be, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yep, for sure. Well, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I love this series. I absolutely do. However, I have to say that when I'm thinking of these, the cultural importance of this show and how it resonates today is really important. And the reality is that not enough people, as you said, talk about Perfect Strangers. Now that should say something. Because it wasn't an original TGIF, but it was pretty close. It was like the third. Yeah. It was not original. It didn't come in until until 1987. 87 is when it came in.
What's original TGIF?
1985, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
First show on TGIF was Webster.
Oh.
Show we don't have on this list, mind you.
Yes, it is.
Is it? I missed it then. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was from the same creators of like Full House, Miller Boy, all those people.
Oh, here's what
Webster is number 12 on the list, so you can go back and look. I did not exclude Webster.
I feel better. I feel better now. No, here's the thing about Perfect Strangers. I love it. I love the theme song. It is my favorite sitcom theme song of all time.
Amazing.
And it gave birth to Family Matters.
Right.
So, yes, those are excellent things, but the simple fact is, when I go looking online, this is not one of the shows that is in the zeitgeist now. Not like Cheers is, not like a Friends is, not like a Full House, or it's not. It should be, but it isn't. Yeah. And there's got to be a reason for that. Maybe I don't understand what that reason is, but for that reason, I feel this is an A+. It is so close. And if it was more recognized currently today, I would have no problem with it being S. But due to the fact that it tends to be forgotten and kind of left aside, I think it's high A at its best current point.
That's fair.
Yeah. It's fair enough. Yeah. Austin, what do you think for Perfect Strangers?
Well, despite the fact that we did a SNL, live from Movie Hero episode where Bronson Pinchot hosted, and I'm familiar with Perfect Strangers. I've never seen a single episode, so I cannot comment. Never.
Okay. Oh, sad. Well,
but a lot of these, like, again, I'm familiar with a lot of these, but being a pop culture guy, but I've never sat down and watched a single episode of Perfect Strangers, so I will abstain.
Well, do yourself a favor and go check it out sometime. Cause I think you'd really like it. So, but it fits really well in into the feel of all those TGIF shows and stuff. Yeah. So, but Perfect Strangers it was awesome, and like it's kind of interesting how I discovered it because I just saw it on like a random rerun when it was playing in syndication, and I was like, what is this show? The show's actually like has a really catchy theme song. It's actually really good. So I started watching it, and then I found out that some of my friends were also watching it too, because I was like, have you heard of the show Perfect Strangers? It's actually really good, and it's really funny. It's got some really cool characters. Like I really like Bronson Pinchot's character Balky a lot, and he works really well with Mark Lynn Baker playing Larry, because he's kind of the straight man and then Balky's kind of the zany, kind of goofier guy, and so it works really well. So yeah, this is absolutely an S tier for me. And once I was finally able to stream it, I did go back and rewatch all the seasons, but yeah, that's a great show. So I think as far as 80s sitcoms go, yeah, it belongs in S tier. So
okay.
Michael, what do you think?
Yep. So I'm not as familiar with the show as you guys are. I just started watching it a couple days ago, so I'm only a few episodes in. But I can tell you that so far I am really enjoying it, and The theme song, of course, is iconic and excellent. One of the best
Yep.
sitcoms theme songs of all time. But I got to agree with Chris on this one because like while I'm really enjoying the show and while it does have a huge fan base amongst the people who love 80s sitcoms and all that stuff, it clearly had enough of a fan base to get it going for 8 seasons. Like that's a lot of seasons. But I don't feel like it's got the, I guess, popularity enough. Like it doesn't seem like we're talking about Cheers in the S tier. Like Cheers made a cultural impact that completely like changed the world of sitcoms. Like it made something that was huge like that. Perfect Strangers kind of gets more overshadowed, and even though you could argue it shouldn't, it does get overshadowed by a lot of these other sitcoms that are much more highbrow or well known. But so for that reason, I would say it would be in the A tier, I think. But,
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw it up here. Here's a little known fact from Ben. He was great as the prankster in Lois and Clark. I didn't even know that he played that. So
and he was great in Beverly Hills Cop, which is kind of like a proto Belky.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, he has the same kind of similar accent.
Step by Step as
yes.
Yeah.
In the late seasons, he came into Step by Step as a regular.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I think we have 3 S's and 2 A's. So it's still enough to keep.
We have 2 S's and 2 A's.
Yeah.
So it is. So I abstained.
That's
so
right. So
usually we need about 3 to guarantee an S spot. Now here's the thing: it could get the bump later if we don't fill up the S completely. It'll straddle the line. But we usually need at least 3 to kind of bump it up in there at least.
Well, I do agree with the points for A. Like the fact that it is not a cultural phenomenon. I basically said that based on my personal feelings. So I am very okay with what you just said, Austin. Like, keep it an A. If it needs to go up,
and that's the thing. At the end of the show, when we're doing it, let's say we have 8 in the S tier definitively, and we pull a couple to get the bump into the 9 or 10 slot or something. If we have something like that, if I go back and look at the votes, and that was the closest, it gets the bump. So that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move to Chris. What's your first nomination, sir?
Yeah, I want to play the poo-poo here a little bit.
Sure.
Fair enough.
I am nominating Moonlighting to be removed from the list because it is not a sitcom at all.
Well, you can put it in the not a sitcom tier.
I want it moved in the not a sitcom because it is an hour. First of all, it's an hour long. It doesn't have the same format styles that a sitcom does. It just doesn't. It's a great show. But it is not a sitcom. I'm just going to stand on that. It's an hour long. Sitcoms tend to be a half an hour. I have never in my life, other than a special, seen an hour long sitcom. It just doesn't work.
Right.
So, Moonlighting, not a sitcom.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see what everybody thinks. Austin, what do you think?
I don't know. I threw it on the list because I saw a couple of I saw some lists with it on it, but I've never seen a single episode of Moonlighting. Again, I'm well aware that it's the Bruce Willis show from the 80s. My best reference is from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie when he says, "Gee, it's kind of like moonlighting." That's like my best reference for Moonlighting. I've never seen it, but I'm fine with it being in there because I don't care one way or another.
Yeah. For me, I've only seen maybe like 1 episode of Moonlighting before, so I probably don't really have a whole lot to really say about it other than I do tend to agree that it's probably not a sitcom. It's just more of like a drama with some comedic elements to it. But I do like the cast though, because with Bruce Willis, you have Sybil Shepherd, and then you have Curtis Armstrong in there, which for some reason, it's like everything that I've had to rewatch for all these shows, for some reason Curtis Armstrong keeps popping up all the time. I don't know what it is, but he's always there as like the best friend, kind of wacky kind of guy there. But yeah, so I don't really know enough to really say anything other than I would agree, not a sitcom. So, but Michael?
I for one, I've seen Moonlight, the A24
Yeah.
movie. I've not seen Moonlighting. But I'm gonna have to add this because I'm doing a Bruce Willis marathon. Ever since the unfortunate news that Bruce Willis had his brain
Yeah,
disorder and is no longer going to be acting anymore, which is unfortunate. So I would definitely have
really
to add
sad.
this. I would definitely have to add this to the list of my Bruce Willis marathon stuff I'm doing. But I've never seen an episode of it, so I can't really speak on it. But if it is an hour long, I mean, usually sitcoms are not an hour. I agree with that. So I guess I would say it's not a sitcom.
yeah. Well, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I've never seen it, but just from watching the clips and stuff like that, like to me, a sitcom is something with a live studio audience. That's
Or
what
not. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
but in our 2010s, The Office is number one, and The Office is a
Yeah.
sitcom just without a
But I mean,
laugh
but I
track.
mean,
Office,
from-
Parks
I mean,
and
Like
Rec.
from this
you know,
era-
Curb Your
from this
Enthusiasm,
era,
same thing. So
Yeah,
from
Curb
the-
Your Enthusiasm, same.
it's to me, it never really felt like a sitcom. It more felt like a comedy series, like a comedy drama.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
It just had more emphasis on the comedy.
Yep. Well, fair enough. So it sounds like it is not a comedy, so it'll
Yeah.
stay there, or not a sitcom.
But I will say, like the generation above us, like they all love this show.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not a bad
Yep,
show.
yep.
It's just not a sitcom.
Yeah.
Yep. yeah.
I'm
Still a
definitely
good
have to check
show.
it out.
Yeah. With that, we'll throw it over to Austin. So you got one.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with another show in the Cheers vein that definitely made an impact, that is still watched today, that all these stars benefited and cemented their legacy in comedy history. I got to go with the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls, to me, is an absolute S tier. It's down in the bottom left, is 100% S tier. And it's a show that on the surface you wouldn't think, just watching it, you'd be like, oh, this is a show, for moms or for older people, whatever. You go back and watch it. It's really edgy. It's really funny. There's a lot of sexual humor on it, which you can either roll with it or it can gross you out, whatever you want to do. But like Rue McClanahan is awesome. Obviously, the late great Betty White. Really, the late great everybody on this show, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
But they've all passed. But most recently with Betty White, obviously. And everybody just had phenomenal chemistry, played their roles perfectly. Estelle Getty always just kind of sitting at the table, just making, off the wall, wacky comments and things. It's just a fun show. It's a really laid back, fun show, nothing too crazy. And hey, Quentin Tarantino even made a cameo one time as an Elvis impersonator. So you know what, for that reason alone, it definitely had an impact. People still watch and talk about the Golden Girls constantly, and not quite as much as maybe on the Cheers level, but like one notch right below that. But it still belongs in the S tier in my opinion. So S tier for Golden Girls.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm right there with you, Austin. Thank you for being a friend. Right, that theme song is just like a classic theme song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So for the intro is between Perfect Strangers or the Golden Girls theme that I was going to use, but yeah, and the Golden Girls was something that when I first heard about the premise of it, I'm like, why would I watch that? That sounds stupid. Doesn't sound funny. Doesn't sound good. Then I watched it. I was like, oh my gosh! Like this show, it's delightful. This show's like really, really funny and really solid. And from what I've heard, because I've done some deep dives and into the production of the show, and it's like these four females from the show, they were stars and they pretty much ran that thing, and they were getting paid some big money to be on the show, and like they're like everybody was just trying to come up with the next joke that they could say or the next cool or funny line from it. And my favorite was of course Sophia, just her, like you said, Austin, just kind of sitting at the table, just like cracking all these jokes, and she gives some kind of
Picture
look,
it, Sicily.
you have like roll her eyes and all that stuff. But then Betty White, though, like very Betty White is an American treasure, and it's like one of the things that I saw when she died, somebody posted that that I wish I could just live my life that when I pass away at 99 years old, the world still says too soon, because people really said that about Betty White. And so yeah, the Golden Girls is great. So yeah, I'm going to say S tier for the Golden Girls. So,
Right. Michael?
Nice.
yeah, Michael.
So yeah, I was a little bit late to the game on Golden Girls, but it was my grandma's favorite show growing up, and whenever we were taking care of her, I would watch episodes with her, while in the living room and stuff like that, and I remember just really enjoying it. And then we would just like binge watch seasons at a time, all this stuff. It was really great. And Betty White, may she rest in peace. She's not gone. Her legacy is still there. She lives on.
R.I.P.
America's grandma.
Oh yeah.
Yep, exactly.
America's grandma. Man, we lost America's grandma and America's dad, and like.
I know, it's crazy.
Jeez.
Tom Hanks is still isn't dead.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Well,
But,
Bob Saget too.
And I
That's
a lot of ways. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was referring to is Bob Saget.
Okay.
But man, and I totally forgot that my favorite director, Quentin Tarantino, made a cameo in the Golden Girls, which is awesome. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I feel like this one has such a legendary status to it, on top of just being such a great show that with a iconic theme song, as we mentioned, and that sometimes would even push boundaries with some of its humor. It was really great. Some of its humor was, and then it was also just. So it wasn't only an exceptional show, but it also was a big landmark for television. So I feel like the S tier is warranted for it.
All
Yeah,
right.
for sure. And also, people forget that the Golden Girls even had a spin-off that was called like the Golden Palace or
I
something
was
like
going
that.
to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they had Don Cheadle. So yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun time, but what do you think, Matt? for
This,
Golden
yeah, 100% S tier. This is one of those shows that I actually do remember watching when I was a kid. Like, I couldn't tell you what episode, but I do remember watching it, and the Golden Palace, the one season. And then, of course, when I got older, I would watch it on reruns and stuff like that, and really, really enjoyed watching it. And then, of course, went back a number of years ago and finally binged the whole series. And let's not forget that it's in the last, I don't know how many years, it's become this big pop culture thing. Like, everyone's talking about the Golden Girls. And I also enjoy Sophia. She's my favorite character for the wit, like just the jokes. And I remember I was sitting there watching a movie the other day, and I realized if they were to ever reboot this, Aquafina would be the best person.
Yes.
To play Sophia.
Yes, that'd be
She
awesome.
can do that. She can play that older grandma type.
But they should not. They definitely should not reboot it though, because
No, I agree. Like, don't ever reboot it. But I mean, just saying, like, if they were ever to, like, she would have to be Sophia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she showed a little bit of it on the second Jumanji movie. So like kind of playing like the older version. I think of Danny Glover. I think is what she's supposed to be. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Chris.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, this show did something that no other show did, and that gave 4 older women the spotlight and showed, you know what, you can be sexy, you can be smart, you can be everything and still be popular. This show, I think actually supersedes Cheers in terms of the cultural popularity of it. Not to say that I think it's better than Cheers in the overall, but in terms of popularity, it's still playing today on like lifestyle channels or those kinds of channels that you normally would see in dentist's office in the middle of the day. It's still done. They make Funko Pops. They just released new Funko Pops of these.
Oh
women.
wow!
Right?
I need a Golden Girls Funko Pop. I didn't know this.
And point of Golden Girls fact: Estelle Getty was the youngest out of the 4.
That's why I said Aquafina.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's why I said
Yeah.
Aquafina, like making, put all the makeup like they did with
So,
the
yeah, but I believe that it's an S tier. There's no question. I don't think overall as a series it's quite as good as Cheers, but culturally how it's still held on, and the fact that in a day and age when we're all about pretty and beautiful and young, at this gave 4 women a chance to shine, and they were intelligent, funny, clever, beautiful in their own rights. So this show is more of what we need today.
And like
Oh yeah.
when's the last time you can remember any sorry, let me rephrase that. That's the first show that I can remember where they showed us older women being bitchy to each other.
Right.
Older women being sexual. I mean, really, that didn't happen.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like that's what I meant. Like it kind of broke boundaries as far as its humor goes, as far as other things. Like it really was something revolutionary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
you talk about how it's like the most watched show on things. Like it plays on Hulu a lot, and
it's
too,
on
like,
Disney
it's
Plus
streaming
up
on
here
Hulu.
in Canada.
And it's one of the like top trending shows all the time on Hulu. Like whenever you look at
Yeah.
the top trending stuff,
We turn on TV Land, and like it's one of the most played shows on TV Land. It's always on. So
TV
yeah.
T-shirts are being sold all the time.
exactly.
Merchandise. It's still resident today. I'm telling you, all 4 of them are dead. They're still receiving residual checks right now.
Oh yeah. Yep. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Golden Girls for the S tier. So
And they were all Golden Girls too.
Oh,
One
100%.
Yep. Yeah. So
And like, it's got B. Arthur too, who's also a fucking legend.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
B. Arthur has my favorite role in History of the World Part 1.
Yes.
I don't know if we
Yes.
can cuss here, but you're a BSer. Have you BS'd
Oh, you
today?
Yeah.
Have you
You
BS'd
can
at all this week? Have
Yeah.
you tried to find work
Yep.
as a BSer? I love it, and she's so deadpan at it. She's great.
Yep. Yeah. But so it's my turn. So I want to go with one that like I don't know if all of you would necessarily consider it a sitcom per se, but it definitely has its episodes that are just laugh out loud hilarious. And I'm gonna go with the Wonder Years for me. So the Wonder Years, it doesn't have a laugh track. It doesn't have it's a longer episode or the episodes were I think close to an hour.
They are still a half an hour. They are still a half an hour.
Okay.
And I
Still half an
just
hour,
just
okay.
to give you kind of a perspective on it, it kind of is in the same vein as like Modern Family.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me,
It's
I'm a
still more
huge Wonder Years
serious.
fan.
More
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, a little
Or
more
like
serious.
young Sheldon in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and for me, I think out of any sitcom ever made, like this is the best portrayal of the '70s, like the pure showing of what the '70s were actually like for a family, for like young kids growing up in America. Like I think that it showed it really, really well, better than that '70s show, better than a lot of these shows. And who didn't grow up having a crush on Winnie Cooper? I mean, come on, like everyone had that. And one of my favorite episodes is the episode where they're all in gym class trying to climb the rope, and then like nobody can climb the rope. And there's another one that's pretty funny where they're all in the choir and nobody can sing, and it's like cutting all the different kids trying to sing and stuff. So there's some pretty funny episodes, but then it adds a lot of heart to it. And there's a lot of sitcoms that have heart. I mean, Scrubs. I mean, there's a lot of shows that have all this comedy, but then they finish the episode with a lot of heart. And also the Wonder Years had great music too. Like and the relationship you see between the family, between Kevin and Paul, between Kevin and Winnie. Like there's so many great relationships that it built. So this is actually not only one of my favorite shows of the 80s, like it's one of my favorite shows of all time. Like I've rewatched The Wonder Years probably like 3 times all the way through it. And if anyone who knows me, Boy Meets World, so his older brother, Ben Savage, that's my favorite show of all time. So I mean, The Wonder Years kind of fits right alongside that. So I'm going to say S tier for The Wonder Years. We'll see what you guys think. Michael?
Yep. The Wonder Years is wonderful. It is.
Yeah.
It is a absolute iconic sitcom with Fred Savage, who is in one of my all-time favorite films, The Princess Bride. Love him.
Yeah.
And and then like so many of the other cast. And then you're right. That the Winnie Cooper, which was played by Donica McKellar. I think I said her name right, but everyone had a crush on her. She even popped up in one of my other favorite shows, The Practical Jokers. She popped up in an episode of that when Murr had a crush on her. So that was
going to Speedo, was covered in oil. Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun
so
stuff.
so that was really fun. So that just goes to show the impact of this show is that you see it referenced in a show like in Practical Jokers and other stuff where it's still being talked about and it's still being brought up in our pop culture and in our and in like just the world today. And they even made a subpar remake of it too. So
yeah, right.
that's what happens with a lot.
I haven't
of
seen the
sitcoms.
remake yet, so I don't know if it's any good. But it's all about a black family in the 70s, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
It's on Disney Plus, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Don Cheadle show.
It's like
Speaking of Don Cheadle.
I haven't seen it either, but it's got the guy who plays Gus from Psych, and I love him. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. Dule Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, Dule Hill. So I definitely want to check that out for him. But they're doing that with a lot of shows like Bel Air. This now it's like, but the Wonder Years. I think that just the fact that it has that kind of recognition and it's still getting like a remake of it or has a remake of it and is still talked about today. I think that these three right here, I think are the biggest worthy S tiers on this entire list that we'll find. I think out of all these sitcoms.
Yeah. Don't forget about the theme song too. Great theme song by Joe Cocker too.
Oh yeah, that one parody.
Yeah.
If any of you guys have seen WandaVision, it actually parodies the Wonder Years theme.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah. Well, Matt, what do you think about Wonder Years?
Well, I know I've seen stuff on it. I'm just going to agree with you guys because I know of its cultural impact and everything like that. Like I'm very aware of it and all that stuff. But I haven't really seen enough to be able to give it a proper judgment.
Well, it's a really fun show if you want to go back and binge watch it. If you ever get
It's
time to do it, like
stream up here.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah. It doesn't. Stream up otherwise I would.
The Wonder Years had a really weird thing to where like it wasn't released on DVD and Blu-ray for a very long time because there's a lot of rights,
licensing.
like music is what I heard. So like all the licensing and everything. So like I remember that we go into the video store like at least a couple of times a month asking about the Wonder Years. Like why haven't the Wonder Years been released yet? But now we have it on streaming here. But hopefully someday you'll get it up there, or you'll have to get a VPN.
Did they keep the
find a workaround.
Did they keep the music on the streaming?
They kept the music and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's great. Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus, right? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the original Wonder Years is on Hulu, and then the new one is on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but well, Chris, what do you think?
I'm really torn about this because I agree that the Wonder Years is great, and the significance of it is powerful. It really is. It's a great series. It's a great coming of age story that goes on. However, while I agree it is a sitcom, we have taken off other sitcoms that began in the late 80s but continued into the 90s. And the majority of the Wonder Years' run was in the 90s, not in the 80s.
Was it?
So, yes, the Wonder Years began in late 1988. Early 1988. It was post Super Bowl, but then went on through 1993. So by sheer math, we've kicked off other shows that started in the 80s, but ended most of its run through the 90s. So
like Full House, my show.
But
Perfect
Strangers falls into that then.
Yeah. But to be fair, though, we did include them in our 90s show, so we did talk about them. So they were there.
Now, if we're all gonna say, then yes, it can sit here. It can
I was
stay.
mistaken. Perfect Strangers, the 80s run beats it by 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other way around.
So I think I hate to say it, my argument is going to stand here that I don't feel the Wonder Years qualifies. While I love it, great show, great sitcom.
No.
By the rules we set, it should not be on this list.
Well, fair enough.
Well, allow me to counter.
Otherwise, you're
Chris,
absolutely correct.
allow me to counter your argument. So I'm going to counter your argument with this. Here's the thing. So using your argument, we would be talking about Three's Company. But when you look at Three's Company in any clip, anything of Three's Company, it looks like a 70s show. They dress like a 70s show. It feels like a 70s show. Mm-hmm. And yet, technically, according to your math, it would be included on the 80s. Even though when you ask the average person, when did Three's Company air, it's in the 70s. So when you think about Wonder Years, what's the first thing everybody says about what decade Wonder Years came on? It's in the 80s. There is a reason I included it in the 80s and not the 90s, because people don't realize it bled into the 90s. When you look at the cultural impact it had was in the 80s. And for people who grew up in the 80s, it is an 80s show quintessentially, which is why I make discretions like that when I come up with the list.
It's fair enough, and I'm merely stating what I believe is based on.
I know it's a semantical argument, but to me, when we're doing these sitcoms, because so many bleed from one decade into the other, if you just go by the math, sure. But what I go is on cultural impact as well to make your cultural impact argument.
Then yes,
culturally, it's an 80s show.
Then I would agree, based on that understanding, that yes, it is an S tier show, 80s show. Absolutely, if it's in that criteria. Yes. I'll agree with you.
What's the same as like other shows like The Jeffersons?
The Jeffersons ran from 75 to 85. But what you ask any person, when did the Jeffersons air?
Yeah,
the 70s.
Yeah, they'll say 70s.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my argument. So
the same with shows like Taxi, like it actually aired in 1978, but it ran all the way to 1983. So technically, that show aired more in the 80s. But if you ask anyone, people would always say 70s for it. You know, that's just what they kind of recognize it as, kind of. So
no, and MASH is the same way. It ran into the early 80s, and I get it, but it's a 70s show. I got it.
Yeah.
But where would you rank it, Austin? The Wonder Years.
S tier. Ditto. Yeah. I'll keep it short and sweet because we've gone kind of long on this one. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. So, Chris, if you were to rank it, I guess you said you give it an S, though?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll leave it in the
Trust
S
me, Jordan and I have these back and forth when we're putting the list together, Chris. I assure you. It's not just, I don't just throw whatever on here. I have to be very meticulous.
You're like, no, Ginger, you don't know nothing.
No, but like Full House, when you think of Full House, you think of like TGIF in the 90s,
the 90s,
right? Yeah, and yes, in that case, the majority of it did it in the 90s. Some people went, oh, what about 80s? Like, well, yeah, it had 2 or 3 years. But when you think about Full House, you think of it as a 90s show. You know, people who were 90s kids watch Full House, you know, so that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll throw it back to Michael again. You're up against it. Do you have another one that you want to nominate?
Yeah. I will be the problematic one of sorts, and I will nominate The Cosby Show.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm going to put it on the S tier, and I have a reason as to why. Is that yes, we all know Bill Cosby. He's a scumbag. He's done a lot of awful stuff. However, this show for the Black community made such an impact because this was one of like the first major sitcoms with like an all Black family. And so for Black folks like that, it really made an impact. This was before Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, before some of the other ones, and
before a lot of those,
yeah. And so I feel like this really made history when it came out. And I mean, hey, and it's still funny. I mean, if you can separate the art from the artist, it is a really funny show, and it's really well done. The whole goldfish bit always has me, laughing. I always have loved that. But I just think that it definitely has both a cultural impact and significance to it for the Black community, and I think it also is just a fun show. So
Yeah. Well, I also want to preface everyone else's response by just saying, like, you're welcome to rank this however you feel. If you can separate the art from the Bill Cosby there, then by all means rank it high. But if you can't do it, rank it low because of that. I mean, you can rank it for any reason you want. So Matt, what do you think?
Actually, no, I agree with everything the Wolfman said there. Because I'm able to separate the art from the artist. I do remember watching episodes of the show. I do remember laughing and enjoying them. I just don't remember shit about it. But I am very much aware of its cultural impact for everything that he said. So I mean, just for that alone, it deserves to be S tier, up there with the Cheers and the Wonder Years and what have you. So yeah, perfect place for it.
Yeah. Sounds good, Chris. What do you think?
Yeah, same. I'm so far seems we're in agreement here. S tier. For me though, there are things that I still remember that I have been trying to do. Like I've been trying to create the perfect bacon burger dog. I've never been able to do it, and I've always wondered what a bacon burger dog is. But I really love the fact that this wasn't the first to show an all-Black family, but this was one of the first to show a Black family with reputation and prestige. He is a doctor, a successful doctor. She is an attorney, a successful attorney, living in really nice areas of New York City. Like, that hadn't been done. And so I really appreciate that. I find this show still funny. I mean, like the pilot episode when his son comes up to him and says, "Dad, why can't you just love me or want me for the way that I am, not what you want me to be? I want to be me, Dad." And he says, "Son, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard you say. Go get that earring out and go get good grades." Like, he was real to him. It wasn't sugarcoating it like Full House did. I love Full House, but Full House was known for that real heavy sugar saccharin kind of thing. Cosby Show didn't do that. Cosby Show was no worries with telling the kids, "You're doing something stupid." And I love it.
No, I live for the sugarness of Full House.
And it has its place. But listen,
in my heart,
that show is a definition of a warm hug. Like,
I love the show. I love the show,
except for on our '90s show when we all dumped it into the F tier, but that's fine.
Yeah, right.
What?
A lot of life lessons for me came from that show. Like,
oh my God, I would have hurt all of you in that.
Every time, one of my favorite things ever, my most favorite thing of that, although, is the series of episodes when he would be just him and the kids.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like the little kids that were like Rudy's friends, and they come in, like the one with the magic act, or the one where they went to dinner, or like, I just love him interacting with the kids. He would later go on to do more of that down the line with Kids Say the Darndest Things. But again, in that zeitgeist of time, it was so good and so charming and just amazing. I love it for what it is. And I know the man is a rat bastard, and I know that. But I'd like to think of it as Phil Huxtable is a great guy. Bill Cosby's a jerk.
Yeah. And like you said about, like, I did some of the things the shows did is one time when my goldfish passed away, I remember watching the Bill Cosby show, and I wanted to have kind of like that goldfish funeral that they had where they just put it down the toilet and flushed it that way. And I thought, like, that would be ceremonious because I was a little kid. I didn't know at the time that you're literally just flushing something down the toilet. And so, like, but
Well, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely separate it in this case because I think to just dump it down the hole would be unfair to the other people that made that show. Felicia Rashad and Malcolm Jamal Warner and Raven Simone and Keisha Knight. Who like also made that show what it was. Who contributed, the writers who wrote really good material, and everybody who put it together. To say what he did, later in life or whatever. I think it's unfair to the actual show itself, again, if you could separate it, the show itself was an S tier, was really good. And yeah, all the stories, it was just consistently funny. And again, another one that was, I think it was number one on TV for a long time, for several years. And yeah, it was right up there with Cheers and stuff. It was one of the most watched sitcoms of the 80s. So yeah, I could definitely say Cosby is S tier.
It's iconic.
If you want, if you want to insult something Bill Cosby did, insult Ghost Town, not Cosby.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
All right, Leonard Part 6, insult that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I can also separate it, and for me, like, it's just kind of hard for me to go back to it and really want to watch it again, since everything that we know about Bill Cosby now. But at the time, though, for the cultural significance and also just because it was a great show, and I remember watching it all the time. It was a lot of fun. Like, I liked seeing the intro that they had where they're all dancing around, having a fun time, and just the dynamic between all the family and like how they were a black family of some significance too, that really I think resonated with a lot of people, and yeah, like, it definitely resonated with me at the time. I watched tons and tons of episodes of the Cosby Show, and it's great. So I'll say S tier. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll stay up in the S tier, and we will go to Matt.
Matt, all right, you got another one?
Let's see.
I'll do the slow scroll here. Well, actually, we can fit them all right there. There you go. That's all of them.
Let's see.
You don't always have to go for S tier. Like, you have anyone that are like mid range or lower. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Alf. For me, I'm gonna put it in B.
Okay.
Again, this is based on personal feelings. Like, I love the character of Alf. I had Alf toys when I was growing up. I had Alf teddy bear that I thought I still had at my parents' place. And when I went to find it last year, couldn't find it, and literally cried. No joke, I literally cried. Like, Alf the character means a lot to me, but the show does not hold up.
Yeah.
I rewatched it, I don't know, about 10 years ago, and oh my God, it didn't not hold up to the point where I'm afraid to go back and rewatch it, because in case it would really ruin things for me. Some of the jokes are funny, but overall, it's just, no, it doesn't hold up. But because of its iconic status, everyone, especially from our generation and probably the generation above us, know who Alf is. I'm going to put it in B.
Yeah, sounds good. Chris, what do you think?
I'm with you there. I bought it. I own it on DVD. I love the whole series, but you're right. It's very flat at points. And I will say the family chemistry, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
The jokes aren't bad, and I love puppetry. I'm a big sucker for puppets. So I love this. He eats cats. It's so risque. And maybe I can't vote it for it, but I remember the Alf TV movie years later, which was a sequel. So I love that. But yeah, I think it's a B tier at best. It's not a terrible show, but it doesn't hold up as well.
Yeah. I still personally pop whenever I see Alf pop up anything modern. I still like, oh my God, it's Alf. But yeah, and I remember watching that movie, and what's funny enough, it's played by the actor and actress who played Tim's brother and sister-in-law in Home Improvement.
Nice.
Another one of my favorite sitcoms.
Right.
Mine too. I'm glad I own it on DVD because it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think B tier seems appropriate for Alf because I'm like Chris. I appreciate puppetry and things like that. And apparently, the production was difficult because they had to like make all these trap doors to do the puppetry, in the set, and everybody had to make sure not to step on them and all kinds of stuff. And the actual character has made an impact. I mean, the character is very recognizable, even just as a thing. I think there's people now who probably never even saw the show that know the character of Alf, because it's been like a thing, in pop culture. But yeah, the actual show is like the character is good, but yeah, the rest of the cast is kind of bland and mediocre at best. So yeah, I think because of that blending of the two, I think B tier is appropriate for Alf. That's a solid place for it.
Yeah, And I'm a big Alf fan too. Like I used to have some Alf. Like I had an Alf T-shirt, and then we were at, as a kid, I had this big Alf puzzle that I would do all the time, and so I'm a fairly big Alf fan. Like I would actually probably rank it more in like the A tier for me, but I don't know if you guys remember the series finale to Alf. Like Alf had a dark series finale. Where they're trying to send him back to his home planet Melmac, and then on his way he gets captured by like some kind of government agency, and they end up putting him in like some kind of cage to like take him back to do experiments. He never makes it home. Like it's sad. It's like whatever happened to Alf. I don't know if we find out in the TV movie. I don't remember the TV movie, but
you do. But they also, if I remember correctly, the family ends up in Siberia or something.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
crazy.
That's what's referenced in the movie.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
but I do think Alf, like out of all these TV shows, like if they were to ever remake a TV show, I think Alf could actually work, and just sticking with a whole other family. You know, he came back to Earth, he's with another family. I think that could actually work. That's just my opinion on it. But I had a lot of fun with it with Alf growing up. So I'm gonna say A tier for Alf, just because if you compare it to what else we have on the list here, like it's one of the more recognizable ones that I like a lot more. So yeah, I'll say A.
All right, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I'm going A too for the exact reasons you listed. This was probably, the Wonder Years I probably grew out of all these. The Wonder Years is probably the one I grew up with the most. But then there's also Alf. Like those two are the ones I grew up watching. Actually, I might have grown up watching Alf the most because I loved Alf as a kid. I wanted to own my own little pet Alf and everything, and there was all those toys. I think I might have owned a plushie maybe one time, but I think that was about it. But
it was a very 80s thing, to have an Alf puppet.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had the teddy bear.
So yeah, it was great, and so Alf is just one that I always I will always go back to and look fondly on, and for nostalgia's sake, I feel like it's just kind of in the A slot. And I mean, it is overall a fun show. Like I enjoy it, and you know what? Sure, you can argue it doesn't hold up, but you know what else you can argue doesn't hold up anymore? Is one of the greatest shows of all time. I don't care what anyone says. The original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I will watch the shit out of that. That's one of the greatest shows ever made, and it is just. Yeah.
Did you ever watch the animated Alf on Saturday mornings?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I didn't.
I know I watched it. But
did you? I am curious because these shows were kind of people always compared them. Did you guys prefer Mork and Mindy or Alf?
Mork and Mindy.
Now Mork and Mindy for sure. That first season of Mork and Mindy is one of the greatest TV seasons of all time.
Oh,
Robin Williams just doing what Robin Williams does is worth it.
Oh yeah. Robin Williams has made that show, and it was excellent.
Yeah.
But
like him trying to throw the egg to let it go home is man down.
Hold that thought, guys, because we'll talk about Mork and Mindy on our '70s show. So hold that thought.
Yeah.
All right.
That one. But yeah, Alf, is A for Alf. That's what I'll say.
Right.
Well,
yeah. So
it's close. We got 2 A's and 3 B's, so it's gonna B is the majority, so that's where it's gonna stay, unfortunately. But a valiant effort.
Maybe a high B if we get anything else in the B tier, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
all right, we'll go back to Chris. And Chris, what do you want to nominate?
I want to knock something else out of this entirely. The Tracy Ullman Show. It is a sketch comedy show. Again, really great. Not a sitcom.
Where is it? Oh yeah. For some reason I couldn't find a solid poster, so I just did the little poster with the Simpsons here because it was the precursor to the Simpsons where they first ever appeared. So yeah.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Understand
you can nominate something else, Chris. I'm fine with that.
I'm good with it. You're good with this? Just as a nice little
I'm good with it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. You can nominate
then
something
I'm
else.
going to hit for something that I'm going to be honest. Mama's Family.
Oh, you bastard. That was my
I
next
watched
one.
this in reruns so many times, and I've learned more about the back history of the character of Mama and how that began because of this show. I've got to nominate it for a tier. Here's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I think it is a B tier. I'm gonna argue it might be a lower B tier, but it is funny. I've never seen it in its entirety from beginning to end, so I don't know what the plot overall is. Because they used to jump around a lot, and I missed it. There were people I didn't understand, whatever. But I always laughed, even as a kid. She was just this no-nonsense mama who didn't give a crap, and I love it. In fact, she reminds me. I will say she's a white Medea. Yeah, she's a white Medea. True. And you know what? I like that from her. So I'm going to say B tier. I remember it in reruns a lot. It's not around a lot now, but I remember it fondly.
Yep. Well, Austin, what do you think about Mama's Family?
I'm almost the opposite. Mama's Family was going to be one of the ones I was going to nominate for S tier. I think Mama's Family is a damn funny show that holds up, and I think the character of Mama that Vicki Lawrence plays is pretty damn iconic. Like you said, in sort of that Medea way, but in a better way, in that she's not going around physically assaulting people and destroying their houses and getting thrown in jail. She's just got that snappy, witty. She's just being like the kind of grandma that puts everybody in their place. But I always thought that the writing was really strong, and yeah, she really carried it. But I thought everybody played their part as well, and I think it's a very recognizable show, shown a lot today. I see it everywhere every time I flip.
Where do you find it?
Yeah.
I have not found it.
Dude, I see it all the time.
TV Land and those things.
Yeah, I swear to God,
I gotta go put this up real quick. Mom,
I swear. Every time I'm in a hotel room or something, because I don't have cable myself, and I flip around on TV, like I'll swear I'll see Mama's Family on some channel, like all the time.
Yeah, it's not on any free service, but you could find it. You can find it.
Right. So yeah, I really like Mama's Family. So yeah, with Jordan.
Yeah. Well, for me, I don't think I really ever gave Mama's Family a fair shot, so I'm not really going to have too much to say here because I tried to watch one of the episodes and I watched about a minute of it, and I'm like, I don't think this is for me. It's like it's just an old lady that's not funny and doesn't really appeal to me at the time. But that was when I was very young, so I never really went back to it. I just kind of I've always avoided it. But with what you guys are saying, I'm definitely willing to give it another shot for sure because I didn't really fully appreciate it. So I'm not going to give it any kind of ranking. I'm going to abstain because I really haven't seen enough of it to really give it a
It also had a young Rue McClanahan before her time with Golden Girls.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. So, but Michael, what do you think?
Well, I have not seen a single episode of Mama's Family, but I have seen Modern Family. And that's
sure. Yeah. Another family.
Yeah.
But
and I've seen Family Matters and other family shows. But yeah, Mama's Family is I mean, hey, I love my mama and her family. So I'll say that.
Right.
But that's all I can say for it. I don't really have a lot to say about it. But y'all have definitely enticed me. Like, I definitely want to check it out now. So.
Yeah.
It's very southern. It's supposed to be. It's very southern.
Yeah. If you grew up with a Southern family, like it worked, and all my relatives on one side are from Mississippi. My other relatives are from Texas, so I've got all the different kinds of Southern, and I'm from Florida originally, so I've got all the different types of Southern in my family. So I can relate to all of these. Yeah, it's definitely more Mississippi. If you had a Mississippi family like I did on one side, it's very relatable. Yeah,
it's the less offensive All in the Family.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
it's the less offensive All in the Family, and this is for me. Like, I love this show. This is one of the first shows that I remember me and my family bonding over. My mom and I would watch it all the time and sing the show where Mama came from. And even now, if because I have cable and my grandparents have cable, once in a while when I see it on a channel, I will stop and watch an episode. I don't do that for many shows, so I would have to put it in S as well. But at the very end of S.
Okay.
Yeah, and
well, where it's at right now. Sorry, Drew.
I was just gonna say that for some reason she reminds me of like the like mom from the Beverly Hillbillies, almost kind of like the same kind of wisecracking kind of.
You're not
thing,
wrong,
so.
and she got her start originally playing this character on the
Yeah.
Carol Burnett show.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
oh my god.
And she had appearances on Hee Haw quite regularly. So you're
Okay.
absolutely right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
If you ever want to watch something funny from the Carol Burnett Mama, you got to go and watch. Oh God, what's his name? Tim Conway telling the story about the Siamese elephants. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love Tim Conway.
I cannot recite it right now, but do yourselves a favor and go watch that bit. Holy shit! Because Mama actually has a great comeback on the second take.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, where are we at on the votes, Austin?
Well, we got 2 S's and a B, so it's going to get bumped up
Okay.
into the A tier at least, and it might be right on that border with Perfect Strangers, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the show. So,
Like that's where I wanted
we'll
it
see.
to go, but I mean, I knew if I said that, it would be like, well, what's the point? It's a 3-way tie.
Right.
I'm not objected to it. I'm not objected.
No, you're looking at it critically, which I appreciate, which is what I'm trying to do as well.
Yeah. Yep.
all right.
Well, Austin. You're next, so
I'm debating on the one I want to nominate, either S or A. I'm wondering if I just nominate it for S, just because it'll keep it bumped up a little bit. But it's a show that I just find super, consistent and entertaining, and a great format for guest stars, especially. I'm going to talk about Night Court.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna nominate it for S tier and see what happens. So
sure.
I might as well. I love Night Court, and this is one of the ones that I haven't seen an episode per se in probably the last 5 to 10 years, but I watched this a lot as a kid and as a teenager. Like I watched Night Court a lot. Again.
Yeah, it's coming back.
It's coming back, which I'm excited for. But yeah, like Night Court is just it's a cool concept, especially if you like courtroom shows, even the stuff like People's Court now, whatever. Because it's a very like small thing. It's for those who don't know, it's Harry Anderson, who's a really funny. He was. I'm sorry, he passed away a few years ago, but he was a really funny kind of character actor, comedian. He plays this judge of this like night, misdemeanor court kind of place. Yeah, and John Larroquette, who I'm a huge fan of. Like I love John Larroquette and just about everything, and he plays like the main prosecutor guy. And it's just them bringing in all these wacky cases and all these defendants always kind of getting into trouble at the beginning of the show, and then they come into the Night Court. But it was just a perfect format to bring in guest people. You had like Lou Ferrigno on there, and like Mel Torme, and like just whoever else you could think of in the 80s, like kind of showed up on this, almost like the Batman show. It was like every week it was like who's going to show up as one of the, either a defendant or some other attorney or whatever. But yeah, just a really colorful cast of characters, really consistently entertaining format, and I thought the writing was good, so I'm gonna go with Night Court.
Yeah. I'm a huge Night Court fan. Yeah, like this is one of the shows that I watched pretty consistently when it actually aired, and I remember that there's a job that I had for a little while for about 6 months. I was working in this warehouse, but for whatever reason they just timed our breaks. Every time that we had a break, they had a rerun of Night Court on the TV in the break room. So I just sit and watch an episode of Night Court while I was on break. So that was always fun, and yeah, that show, like, it actually holds up pretty well. Like, I think that it actually works, and it has a pretty diverse cast. I mean, you got white, black, you got all different colors on there, and then the humor hits really well to like, for someone who's not a big fan of like stuff set in a courtroom. Like, I always kind of think, oh, this is just going to be like a bunch of like dialogue that's going to go way over my head. I'm not really going to get any of the humor, but it actually works really well. And I'm excited to see it come back. I'm sad that we're going to lose Harry Anderson as the judge, because like for me, he was the heart and soul of that show for me personally, but I'll still check it out. And yeah, I would actually say S tier for Night Court. Yeah, I'll agree with you. So Michael, what do you think?
I have seen some of Night Court. I have not seen this whole show, but I have watched some of it, so I have gotten enough of a basis on it to understand it. And it is a really fun court show, and I didn't even know it was coming back. But if you guys say it's coming back, I feel like that in and of itself is worthy of getting into S tier, because they're because that just shows that obviously it has enough of a significance and impact to
Yes.
rejuvenate another Night Court series. So so yeah, I mean, I always thought it was fun, so I definitely enjoy Night Court.
Yeah, the new judge is going to be Big Bang Theory's Melissa Rauch.
Melissa
is
Rauch.
gonna be the
Yes,
judge.
but
Yeah.
John Larroquette is returning.
But John Larroquette is coming back as the prosecutor. He is
But
back.
they could have
nice.
been a more perfect
Yeah.
person to play the child of Harry Anderson.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Mhm.
Nice.
I'm totally on board for that. But
I agree.
Matt.
It's S tier. Probably in the lower end of the S tier for me, but definitely S tier. This is another one that I remember watching with my parents at a really young age. Yeah, like I said, I remember watching it. I remember the feeling of watching it. I couldn't tell you what episodes, but then I watched it when I was a teenager, and it still cracked me up, and it still cracks me up every time I catch an episode. I love Bull. I love Dan Felding. Harry T. Stone, and I love that his guardian angel is Mel Torme, and it's S tier for me as well. And
Yeah,
it's got a kick-ass sax solo for a theme song, and as a saxophone player myself, it's the best.
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Chris, what do you think?
You've all given great reasons why it's S tier, but you've left out the most important two-part reason as to why the show is S tier, and that is Brent Spiner and Annie O'Donnell
Yes.
as Bob and June Wheeler.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
still YouTube binge Bob and June Wheeler clips because they're so funny. And Brent Spiner, if all you've ever been exposed to Brent Spiner is through Star Trek, you're missing out, because he's a hilarious actor, and the characters they create in this show are so worth your time, just to hope when Bob and June Wheeler show up, something went down. It's the greatest thing ever. S tier all the way.
Yeah.
It's funny. I went to a convention recently and met. They had the cast of Revenge of the Nerds there. So and one of them was
nice.
Donald Gibb, who was Ogre in Revenge of the Nerds. Donald Gibb was on there, and one of the pictures on his table, one of his 8x10s, was him on Night Court as like a prisoner. So because he just always played a bouncer or a prisoner or whatever. And yeah, so I just thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, a lot of people that showed up on there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan.
Well, so I'm up next. So I'm gonna go with one that like I wish I would have saw more in its original run, but I went back because I'm such a huge fan of the lead actor. But and it's also one that I added to the list kind of last minute. But I want to go with Police Squad for me. Like I'm a huge Police Squad fan. Like in my opinion, I actually like it better than the Naked Gun series because it's the precursor to all of those, and it's really, really funny. Like, it's essentially, it's Leslie Nielsen, and he is like basically trying to take innocent people and like do all these crazy things with them, turn them into like spies and assassins and all these different things. And it just like was not only it was the precursor to the Naked Gun series, but also kind of showed like the beginnings. I mean, besides the Airplane, I mean that was already around, and some of the like Mel Brooks stuff. But as far as Leslie Nielsen goes, like how great he is at doing these spoof comedies, and like how he can just play it completely and totally straight, and it actually works really, really well. And actually, this show holds up really, really well even to this day. Like you go back and watch episodes, and it's really, really funny. And yeah, if you're a fan of that type of humor in any type of way, do yourself a favor and go check out Police Squad. For me, Leslie Nielsen is probably the only recognizable actor other than you see William Shatner pop up on there, so he's fun to see on there too.
O.J. Simpson is in it as well.
Oh yeah, true. But yeah,
Police Squad.
He wasn't
Police
on Police Squad.
Squad, he's in the
He
movie.
wasn't
Hold on, wait,
He wasn't
wait.
on the show. He was on
you're
the
right.
show.
No,
Oh, yeah.
he was. Never mind. Scratch that.
He was in the
Ignore me.
movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, ignore me.
yeah.
But
But
because
I mean,
the
I'm
main
not-
character to return from the show in the movies is Leslie Nielsen. Everyone else was recast.
Yeah, no, yeah, ignore me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, but Leslie Nielsen as Lieutenant Frank Durbin, he's a great character. So it's no wonder that
Frank Drebin.
they made, Frank Durbin. They made him into 3 movies. So yeah, rest in peace, Leslie Nielsen. But I'm gonna nominate Police Squad for S tier. So
I'll give you a reason why it's not in a minute, but I'll wait for my turn, Michael.
sure. But Michael, what do you think?
I hate to disappoint you all, but I've seen the Naked Gun series and love those movies. I have not seen an episode of Police Squad, so
Okay.
so I cannot speak on this one. But I do love Leslie Nielsen, and anything he's in, I watch, and I will definitely, love him in it. So I'll have to check out Police Squad.
If you're looking for something like in the same vein as all the Naked Gun, I would recommend Police Squad for sure. But Matt, what do you think?
So I actually own it on DVD.
Nice.
I do enjoy it, but if I'm being honest, I will go and watch the movies before I will go and watch the show. Although I really do love the running gag of at the end of every episode, it's like
The freeze frame.
but everyone goes in there and they're like using their eye. It's just fucking brilliant. But
except for the perp they've got in handcuffs who looks around and sees everybody frozen and just walks out the door. It's pretty good. It is some pretty good gag.
the reason it lasted only 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I wish it would have gone longer.
It is still pretty funny, but I got to put it in B.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Chris?
Yeah, I think you said it here. 6 episodes. You have to ask yourself, what the hell is going on here? We are nominating something for S tier with 6 episodes. This isn't Firefly, people.
Yeah.
This isn't the movies. The reality is that this is not a good show. It worked better on the big screen. Absolutely. It's not a terrible concept. It just didn't work at the time on the small screen. 6 episodes and it was canceled. That has to tell you something. Now, is it an absolute failure? No, it gave birth to the police or to the I almost said Police Academy. But hey,
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun. Thank you. It gave birth to Naked Gun, and Leslie Nielsen is doing what Leslie Nielsen does well, and that's fine. I personally hate to say it. The movies are an A tier to me, and I love them, but the series is a D.
D. Ooh, ouch. All right. Well, Austin, what do you think?
Well, I won't be as harsh as Chris was. I will still give it a B because the quality of it was good. Here's the problem. Nobody watched it and it got canceled after 6 shows. And after 6 episodes, here's the thing. It was my same argument when people brought up Freaks and Geeks on our 2000 show, is that in order for something to be the best of all time, it had to have some kind of impact and legacy, and having only 6 episodes doesn't do that. It doesn't secure it.
But it had a legacy. The legacy were the movies.
Yeah, and so those movies are great, but you cannot rate a TV show. You cannot. Not everybody even knows that it's based on a show. If people don't know that and they just watch the movie, then that means the show itself did not have an impact. That's my point. So the movies have the impact.
Funny. The entertainment president at the time, ABC's entertainment president, Tony Thomopoulos, said it was canceled because viewers had to pay close attention to the show in order to get much of the humor. It was very quick, very rapid fire. Even Matt Groening came back and said, you know what? This concept would work 20 years later, which Family Guy proved could be done. Many shows, animated shows especially, proved this could be done, but at the time it just wasn't there. And it didn't have the chance to prove it. So it's just a victim of being at the times where it is. And again, it's funny. If it were today, this would be a whole nother scenario, but we have to take it as it lies.
I put it more as a cult show. It really is what it is. Like, you have to really be a fan of the Naked Guns to seek out Police Squad. And like, not everybody knows what Police Squad is.
But just because a show was canceled by a network doesn't mean that it wasn't any good. I mean, there's been a lot of shows that have been canceled way too
but
soon.
here's the thing,
William Bibiani
Jordan,
has a whole podcast about
Jordan,
canceled
that's
too
not what
soon.
I'm arguing, though. That's not what I said. I said it was quality. The problem is when we're doing rankings of the greatest of the decade, you think of Cheers, you think of Golden Girls, you think of Cosby. Police Squad is not even in the same universe when you talk about the name impact and the recognition and the pop culture impact. It's not in the same universe, which is why I'm voting for B, because I'm not saying it's badly written or not good comedy. Again, it was ahead of its time, but you have to have some kind of impact and name recognition to go along with this. So that's why it needs to be in a lower tier. That's my argument.
Well, then compared to the rest of everything we have on the list, I'm just curious what you would actually put on this tier above Police Squad. So.
A lot of things, a lot more things that we haven't brought up yet. Actually, I got probably at least 5 more.
Somebody would say, "Hey, have you ever seen Police Squad?" No, what is that? It's the TV show that actually the Naked Gun movies are based on. Oh,
there was a TV show. There was a TV show based on that.
They would have heard of it if they would have given it more.
People, I guarantee you, would have been like, "Oh, I know what Police Academy is."
That's what I just did.
Yeah. Well, again, people have never seen Alf. Jordan, people have never seen Alf know the character of Alf without even having seen the show. It at least has that kind of recognition.
We can just put into pop culture and everything. They made
T-shirts. When Police Squad didn't make pop culture, Naked Gun made pop culture. That's the difference. That's the difference.
I personally would compromise. I know I said D. I would bump it to a C. Your argument is compelling.
Yeah.
S is not going to happen. S is not going to happen.
For me, I don't really care how long a show's run or if it got canceled or anything. I just cared that how much I enjoyed the show over anything else on the list.
You're voting because you really like the show. Like there are some that I would probably do the same for. But I mean, if you're looking at it like and analytically, it's like
yeah.
If that's the case, I would have went gung ho Alf S because as a kid, I loved Alf. Gung ho Alf.
Like I said, I cried when I couldn't find my fucking teddy bear.
Yeah,
it's up to you. I mean, it's really like your personal preference, but yeah. But so we have an S. We have a couple of B's and a C.
And a C. It's going to get knocked down to the B tier at least. Yeah.
It's lower B
below
at best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it is fucking hilarious, but
yeah.
Like Leslie Nielsen is one of my favorite Canadian actors.
Right. Well, not mad about it. I actually have his Leslie Nielsen signature on my Surf Ninjas DVD, but it's not signed by Leslie Nielsen. I actually met Rob Schneider, and he just signed his name because Leslie Nielsen is no longer alive. He just did it to be funny.
That's
so
funny.
yeah. But
I love that movie. I'm glad it's out there easily find.
Yeah.
All right, so this might be our last go round as far as our regular round, but I'll explain how the sort of Hail Mary last chance round works when we get to it. But this will be the last round of just like long form discussion, rankings and nominations. So
to fill the
no, we're not. No, we're not. I'm looking at the list. There's plenty. Yeah.
Is there really? Is there?
Just because you don't agree doesn't mean the rest of the panel won't agree with me. That's fine.
All right. Well. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
There's a few I'm contemplating here. But I'm going to say Growing Pains.
Sure.
And
Pains. All right.
And I am going to nominate it in the I think it has enough of an impact to put it in the S tier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I'm just because it's very just the cultural impacts there, the family dynamic. You love them all. The humor in it is excellent, and it's just so well written. It's one of the better sitcoms on this list and one of the more well known ones. So, yeah, I personally think that Growing Pains is worthy of an S spot.
Yeah. Sounds good. Matt, what do you think for Growing Pains?
I agree. I agree with all that. It's one of those iconic it shows of the 80s, and it gave us Leonardo DiCaprio, I think. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that gave us Leonardo.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
No, I agree with everything you said. Like, it's definitely an S tier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Chris?
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Gave us Leonardo DiCaprio. He wasn't the greatest character, but it was the start of his career.
Mhm.
This was when Kirk Cameron was actually charming.
Right.
This was before he was doing really,
Yep.
really, really, really bad movies. But this also was a show where again, mom and dad have reputable positions. Dad was actually more raising the family than mom was.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
really like that aspect of it. And it's Alan Thicke. Like, Alan
He's a
Thicke gets a
legend.
lot of
TV
meme
legend.
and
Another
comedy
great
out of him.
Canadian.
But I really like him as the dad here. And I remember watching reruns all the time. If there were 3 shows that I had to say as a kid, I watched reruns the most of, Growing Pains is on that list. No questions asked.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
Growing Pains is an S tier.
Yeah.
That
sounds
and
good.
that theme song. Again with the theme songs. That
Oh,
theme
yeah.
song.
Yep.
The 80s
Oh,
are
yeah,
the best
for
TV
sure.
theme songs when it comes
Right?
to being
I know.
songs.
Yeah, now it's just like the theme song's just like a few bars of music and the show
Yeah.
starts. It's like, yeah.
Sometimes
But,
they don't even do that. Sometimes just literally a title pops up, and then it's just
Yeah,
like,
right. Yep. Well, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, no. I said there was still more for S tier. This is one of them. Yeah, Growing Pains is an S tier. It's a quintessential 80s sitcom. It's one of the first ones I thought of when I was putting together the rough draft of the list. Hence why, if you look on the draft, it was the first one because I was like, oh, yeah, 80s sitcoms. Man, Growing Pains is really 80s, but it's a lot of fun. And it's when Kirk Cameron was still a lot of fun to watch. It was kind of a perfect role for him, just in this, this sort of teenager, kind of guy. And yeah, Alan Thicke is a TV legend. He comes this, and obviously went on to do Step by Step, and he was great on there too. He's a lot of fun, and solid writing all around. So yeah, I'd go now. Yeah, again, Growing Pains, I'd probably put it in the back end of the S tier, kind of where it is now, but it's still S tier.
Yeah. Well, this one I would agree on for sure. I remember like even when I was in middle school, like they did this thing when I was in the 8th grade where we had Growing Pains Fridays. I don't know why, for whatever reason, they would always show us episodes of Growing Pains. So that was fun to go back and see some of those. And
it's Friday. So it's
yeah,
Friday.
right. Yeah, right. Well, kind of a way to kind of jumpstart the weekend, like kind of like a reward if we were like well behaved and stuff. They would do that for us. Growing Pains had a great cast, and it also kind of introduced us to even a few other, like I think Candace Cameron first popped up on Growing Pains. She's on that. We even got a young Hilary Swank that would show up on there, but we got a cameo from Heather Graham on there. So I mean, there's a few different actresses that kind of showed up for some of the first time on Growing Pains, and yeah, like it just had a lot of like really relatable themes and things that like people and families could relate to. Like it's a show you could just sit down and watch with your whole family and really get something out of it. And it was funny and pretty entertaining. And also Alan Thicke, yeah, he was a star as far as 80s sitcoms, 80s TV it goes. And I also like the running joke that they do on How I Met Your Mother with Alan Thicke too. That's some good stuff too. So, but yeah, I am gonna agree with us too for Growing Pains. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
That's good.
It is a straight up across the board.
There you go.
Straight up across the
Now
board.
they-
So I'm gonna,
all the other
seems
ones
like-
did too.
yeah. Every
Every S tier.
Every single one? Okay.
Has gone.
Every single one of them
Every single
has
one
a clean sweep. Every single one has a clean sweep so far.
Okay.
So we'll have to decide the actual
I'll just
order
leave it
later.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I thought some of the
All
lower
right.
ones maybe didn't.
But we'll play around with the order later at the end of the show.
I already
Yeah.
know which one I'm going to take.
right,
Also
Matt.
for S. Also for S. Family Ties had to walk.
There you go.
before Growing Pains had to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about iconic. Like that show basically helped with Back to the Future because that movie was a smash hit at box offices because everybody knew Michael J. Fox from Family Ties. Even so, the character of Alex P. Keane was referenced in Michael J. Fox's last episode of Spin City. And there were so many topics that they tackled. Like Tom Hanks was the alcoholic uncle. I believe this is the series that had Matthew Perry as the boyfriend who died in a car crash. Like, it was a sitcom that tackled with heavy stuff at times.
Yeah.
And it's again, also talk about theme songs, man, right? It's one of those iconic TV shows that if you watched it, you love it.
Yep, absolutely. Chris, what do you think for Family
Yeah,
Ties?
I feel what you said is actually even better than what I was going to say. It had to walk so Growing Pains could run. In my mind, Growing Pains and Family Ties are very like neck and neck, as very similar.
Yeah.
They really are. You've got that same kind of family structure, and you've got the precocious oldest son, and then the daughter who just nobody understands. And like the formula is kind of the same. Great theme songs. But I'm not knocking it, not in any way. And you're right. We wouldn't have Back to the Future the way we know it if this show was not popular.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have got Michael J. Fox. So I'm okay with this being an S. No questions.
Yeah. I'm Austin.
I'd actually put it above like Night Court. Like if we're ordering it, I would put it up at the top of S.
Oh yeah, we'll do that at the very end. So yeah.
Family Ties is another S tier. Like I said, we're gonna have no problem filling this up. I think once you see Family Ties, easy S tier. Like what everybody said, Michael J. Fox turned him into a star. My boy Michael Gross from the Tremors movies. This is where he got his start. That's where everybody knew him from, and then played a complete opposite character in the Tremors movies. But he's a lot of fun on here, and yeah, even just the dynamic with the political stuff with Michael, Gross and Michael J. Fox kind of going back and forth with their different, political ideologies. That was kind of different for the time, and showed that could work. I like the show a lot. I watched it a lot. So yeah, Family Ties, S tier.
Yeah, and I would agree pretty strongly for an S tier for Family Ties, because like the thing I really like about Family Ties as opposed to a lot of sitcoms we have nowadays is like Family Ties wasn't afraid to cover some dark themes, some like some like pretty heavy subject matter. One of the episodes I always remember is the one where Alex, played by Michael J. Fox, who just as a side note, he's my favorite actor of all time, so I'm a huge Michael J. Fox fan. But the episode where he's having to stay up all night studying for a test, so he's taking some kind of speed or something to like stay up all night long, and then like cover some like drug issues and like addiction thing, and like one of the things why I think that a lot of TV shows nowadays don't work or they fail is because they're afraid to tackle these heavy issues. Like they're not like as brave enough to get into things like that. Like if you compare like a Boy Meets World that actually covered a lot of heavy issues, and then you go to Girl Meets World and they kept it light and kind of fluffy, and like it didn't really work as well. So for Family Ties, like this is probably one of my favorite shows to come out of the 80s. And I would say an S tier for sure. And actually, like it might be one of the higher ones on my list. So, yeah. But Michael,
this was another one. Not as much as Golden Girls, but this is still another one that my grandma watched a lot, and she really loved. And I would sit down and watch with her, and it's such a beautiful show, man. And like you all said, like. Michael J. Fox it made him into a star. Back to the Future would have probably never happened if it wasn't for this show. So, I think that the S tier is definitely warranted. And you love this entire family. It's one of the best families on on all of like sitcoms. Honestly, like just one of the best. It's so well done. I love this show.
Yeah. It's a clean sweep for S tier, so yeah.
Dang, we gotta find at least one S tier where we don't all agree.
Yeah, right. Well, may or may not happen. We'll see. So Chris, you're up.
Well, I think I'm gonna do that for us right now. There are a lot of great options on this list still left. I mean, there's different strokes, which I think is iconic in its own way, but I'm gonna go with something that's true to my heart. Something that I liked watching, part of the original TGIF lineup. We're going to go with Mr. Belvedere, that I believe is the you, Jordan, especially love Boy Meets World. We do not get Mr. Feeney without Mr. Belvedere.
Right.
S tier, it's lower S tier. I'm going to give you that. It's lower S tier. But Mr. Belvedere sets this precedent for this kind of character that resonates. You don't get Jeffrey the Butler in Fresh Prince without Mr. Belvedere. I mentioned Mr. Feeney. You don't get Mr. Feeney. Like these very kind of wise but wisecracking kind of butlers, or even Niles in The Nanny. Like there are these characters that stand out. Mr. Belvedere was the first to get this right. And I loved Mr. Belvedere, and I always loved the end of the episodes. He would end it by writing, and he would be writing. And that's something as an English person, as a person who's a teacher in English, I just love watching somebody write a note, kind of writing their thoughts. And even when the comedy's still going on in the background, Mr. Belvedere is an iconic butler. It's an iconic series, and it needs more love.
Yeah. Absolutely. Austin, what do you think?
I'm a little torn on it because I do like Mr. Belvedere. It's a pleasant show. It's fun. I don't hold it in the same reverence as some of the other shows that are in the S tier so far. I don't have the connection with them as I did with some of the other ones. But I do recognize that it had an impact, and the name Mr. Belvedere gets referenced a lot. So I know it had an impact. I'm going to go A tier for Mr. Belvedere. A tier for Mr. Belvedere. But a solid A.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Mr. Belvedere. Like it was a fun show, and I like your argument, Chris, about like the like wise, like the kind of older guy that they would turn to for all the advice and everything, kind of like a Mr. Feeney type, you know. So yeah, like I grew up watching a lot of Mr. Belvedere, and I wasn't as familiar with the cast, but I do like seeing Bob Uecker in there. Like he would go on to be the announcer for all the major league movies and stuff. So like he's fun to see in there. But and for me though, I just don't really put it above what's in the A tier necessarily. I mean, I haven't really seen a lot of Mama's Family, but I definitely don't put it above Perfect Strangers. So for me, I'm probably gonna go A. So yeah, I'll say A. Michael, what do you think?
Wow. It seems like I'm the only person in this lineup that has not seen Mr. Belvedere. I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna have to give this one a watch too. But I know about it. I know what it is. I have heard about this one, and it sounds really good. And from the way you guys are describing it even more, sounds really good. And it sounds like it made a impact on sitcoms and on TV. So I mean, I think it sounds worthy of being pretty high. So
yeah.
I'm in the same boat as Wolfman. I've never seen the show, but I'm very familiar with it through references from other things of pop culture and, of course, Bob Uecker and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be abstaining from voting on this one because I've never seen an episode or a clip of anything.
Yeah. Well, we have three of us that have seen it, so it's enough to give it a ranking. I think it got 2 A's and an S. Is that right, Austin?
2 A's and an S. So yeah, it'll slide down to A, but it could be in contention for that one of those honorable mention spots. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Put it there. So,
okay.
All right, Austin, you're up. So.
All right, so I'm gonna go with another one. I'll try to shoot for S tier on this one. Focuses on a guy who had not one but 2 extremely successful sitcoms, and I'm talking about Bob Newhart with Newhart. Newhart.
Yeah.
Now, was this the one, I gotta know? Was this the one with the dream at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making
This is
sure
the one
I'm
where
clear.
where he wakes up in his old bedroom set and says he has a weird dream about him running a bed and breakfast. Yeah, it's one of the most famous finales ever.
Ranked one of the highest critically endings to a sitcom of all time.
It was amazing.
Yeah, the last Newhart. Yeah.
When he wakes up, he's in the original show, isn't he? Isn't that how it goes? Like,
yes, he's on the old Bob Newhart show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
That's genius.
Awesome.
That's genius.
Yeah. But yeah, Bob Newhart is just he's another TV legend, very funny in everything he does. It's a show that kind of starts out a little slow, but once they really got into like those mid seasons, seasons like 3 through 6, 7, like it really hit its stride. It's just him and Mary, Bob and Mary, Bob Newhart and Mary Fram, like running this bed and breakfast and just encountering all kinds of wacky characters, almost in like a Seinfeld kind of way, where a lot of it takes place in the apartment. This is like a lot of it in the bed and breakfast, people coming in and out. Tom Poston, who's like this character actor, was really funny as their kind of handyman George. Like he has this really great deadpan delivery, really good stuff. But Bob Newhart's the man. He always made sure it was quality writing and really great performances. So I think Newhart. Again, I wouldn't put it up in the upper S tier, but I'd nominate it for an S tier, a solid one nonetheless. Newhart.
Newhart. The show that I have seen a handful of episodes. I haven't seen a lot, but I'm a huge Bob Newhart fan. I think that he's hilarious too, especially his stand-up. Whenever he appears on like a late night show, he always has these kind of long, drawn-out stories, but they're funny, and they're interesting enough that you want to stick with them to like hear what the punchline to the end of it's going to be. So like he's always like super super funny. There's a lot of kind of dry, deadpan humor, but it works really really well. And like he's always one of those guys, kind of like like Betty White. Like he's a national treasure, and it's like I always wondered like how many years he has left in him, but he's still alive.
93 right now. Oh, yeah, 93 is still kicking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you like probably like 5-6 years ago, he was doing episodes of The Big Bang Theory still, like he's still doing stuff like that. So yeah, I'll say S tier. I don't know how high it's gonna go for me, but I'll say an S tier. Yeah. Michael?
Either you're muted or your mic isn't working. We can't hear you.
Oh. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I just had the button accidentally shut off. But I was saying that Betty White was TV's grandma and Bob Newhart was TV's grandpa. Because he's just such a legend. And at first I was like, Newhart. I've seen the show, and then I saw pictures and other stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I have seen some of the show, and yeah, this is definitely a fun one. I've not seen it all. I have seen like a couple seasons, and yeah, it's one that is definitely really fun, and I think that it's also it's such an iconic series that I feel like an S tier is definitely a worthy placement for this. So,
all right,
yeah, sounds good.
I've not seen a lick of this show, but I agree with you guys because of reputation alone. I am very well aware of how critically acclaimed and iconic the show is, and even I have never seen anything from the show know about that ending, and I think it is genius. So yeah, no, I agree. Even though I've never seen it, I agree. S tier.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going to stay. Actually, Chris, you haven't voted yet. Huh? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Here's the thing. I like the show, and I do think the show's longevity and its comedy is great. Here's the thing, though. I believe that the show is far more memorable for its ending than for the entirety of the rest. That's not to say the rest is bad. I just feel that the ending kind of overshadows everything else. You talk about Newhart, you end up talking about the ending first. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
I feel that it's A tier. Only because you're not talking about, remember that one episode, or, oh man, that one time you don't do that. You talk about the ending, and that it just overshadows everything. So I believe that it's an A tier.
But you could use that argument for The Sopranos too, because everyone's like, "Oh, did you see that ending?" Like everyone always talks about the ending on that one as well.
And Sopranos is my second favorite show of all time. I love that one so much.
Yeah.
I've never seen a lick of it, but again, also know the ending.
Yeah. Well, I think Newhart might be the first one to make it in the S tier, but it's not unanimous, so it might stay at the bottom of S tier. So,
yeah.
Right. Hey, it's our first
non-unanimous S tier. Yeah.
Non-unanimous. That's sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
That's tier. So.
All right, Jordan.
All right.
This will be the last one probably of the regular round, and like I said, I'll explain how the last chance Hail Mary round kind of works in just a second. So go ahead.
Well, there's a few that I'm kind of going between. I'm trying to see if there's anything I would actually put up in an S tier. Man, I don't know if there's really anything left that I would really say S tier for. So I mean, I could just try to get one that's like
There's one
maybe.
we haven't touched that
Like different strokes. Yeah.
No.
For different shows, maybe.
Yeah.
Charge.
Well, we'll deal with that in a minute. We'll deal with that. Let Jordan pick his
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute. There's a way to do it. We'll talk about it.
Well, this is one of the ones that I was thinking of. That was actually Charles in Charge. Like that show. So I'm gonna nominate Charles in Charge, but the show. We talk about another really great theme song too. Charles in Charge of our days and of our nights, like all that stuff. It's good stuff. But
Scott Baio.
Yeah. So like, but the thing is though, like I don't know if I could put it all the way into S tier. Like it was good. Like it was great actually. I actually really loved Charles in Charge, but I wouldn't put it above anything in the S tier personally. But I mean, but if it were to slide into the last S spot, I wouldn't be mad about it. But it was a fun show. Like you have this guy who's like a nanny to these kids, but it was like the kind of cool nanny that's kind of rough and tumble, kind of getting into some trouble sometimes. You know, they have some fun shenanigans and adventures and stuff. But I think that for me, I'll give it an A tier. But for me, it goes to the top of A tier for me. So it just in my book just misses S tier. So yeah, I will say A. But Michael, what do you think?
So I've not seen Charles in Charge, but I have a feeling that he is in charge.
Oh, in the neighborhood, lives
So
downstairs, and it's
That
understood.
is all I'll say because I can't vote, unfortunately.
Sure, yeah. Matt,
Yeah, I agree with A. Not sure about the top of A, but I do agree with A. I haven't seen this actually since I was a kid and used to watch it on TBS growing up. But I do remember. I of course know the theme song, and I do remember enjoying it. And there are some things I do remember, like the two families who lived in the same house. Oddly enough, I agree with A. But like I said, I don't know if it would be top A for me, but yeah, A is a good spot for it.
yeah, and if you ever want to hear a really cool cover of the theme song, the one by Reliant K, that's one of my favorite bands growing up. They do the really cool cover of the theme song. But anyways, Chris, what do you think for Charles in Charge?
Chachi doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
Chachi doesn't do it for me.
Tony loves Chachi.
Yeah. I was a Happy Days guy, so I'm like, it's Chachi. It's just not buying it for me. It's funny, but it's not one that I go back to. I feel it's more of a B tier. It's memorable, but I don't see it being in the same vein as Perfect Strangers, Mama's Family, Belvedere. I generously am going to give it B tier.
Yeah. That's fair. Austin, what do you think?
I won't be quite as generous as Chris. I'll give it a C. Charles in Charge is okay, but with Scott Baio, I mean he definitely carries the show. But the changing of the families thing was weird halfway through it. When they just completely like redid it, it's just strange. And to me, it was all right. It was an okay show. It was fine. It was C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a couple of A's, a B, and a C. So
two A's, a B, and a C.
Yeah.
B
too, right?
Yeah. If it was in A, it'd be at the bottom of A. If it hung in there.
Yeah. We'll just throw it here. I feel like that's kind of what it averages. But
all right. So here's what we're gonna do. So let me explain kind of how our Hail Mary sort of last chance round works. So how's it going to work is we'll go up and down the ladder. And what I'm going to do is, so we'll start with Michael. Is what I need you guys to do is if you feel there are any on the board that you feel are either S or A level, strictly S and A level, that you think have a chance to kind of get up there for some kind of contention, I want you to name them. So anything on the list, and you can name as many as you like. There are no restrictions as far as like, it's only one or two or whatever. You can name 5 if you want to. And I'm going to write them down. And if you agree with that, make sure there's something somebody else says, make sure you name it as well. Because what I'm looking for is crossover. So if I hear one named multiple times, we will go back and do a very quick rapid fire official grading for it. Does that make sense? So let's say 3 people nominate I don't know, silver spoons. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, 3 people say silver spoons in their thing. We will go back. I'll write that down, and we will go back and go through the entire panel, and the entire panel will give an official ranking to silver spoons. Does that make sense? So I'm looking for crossovers, but you can name as many as you like. But if you like the same ones, please name it as well, so I get the crossovers. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So look through the list. If you need a second, that's fine. I understand, but you can take your time. Scroll up and down the list, and we'll start with Michael down there. Just name me any ones you still think deserve to be either S or A.
All right. Ones that I would put.
And don't just the only thing I'll say is don't go too fast because I'm going to write them down physically for each one. I'm jotting them down. So
Oh, of course,
just
yeah.
make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I getcha. But one of these is based purely off actual quality, and then another one of these is based purely off of nostalgia for me. So
Okay.
I would say, for 2 of them, I would put Black Adder in there. With Rowan Atkinson, can't even say his name. Such a funny British sitcom. Like that is hilarious. Definitely recommend that on BBC. And then one that is near and dear to my heart, as far as nostalgia goes, is My Two Dads, with Paul Reiser and hey, one of the characters' name is Michael, so I got a little bit of a bias there. And so I would definitely go for both of those in the A tier because I feel like they still haven't really made. I feel like they're not culturally like as big to like get into the S tier. They're not like that huge of shows, so I'm going to nominate those 2 and I'm going to put them into the A tier.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Matt,
All right.
So I
Any
agree
more
with
number?
Blackadder on A tier. I do agree with that there. To me, that is like the poor man's version of Monty Python.
yeah.
Where that's more niche as opposed to Monty Python, like everybody knows. And the other one is also based on nostalgia, but it's not My Two Dads because I've never seen that show. It is Who's the Boss? I haven't seen that one in a long time, but I do remember enjoying watching episodes. I mean, who did have a crush on Alyssa Milano?
Oh yeah, who didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like even now, you'll still hear Who's the Boss references. So yeah, I would put those 2 in A.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I feel that S that we were missing a couple on S. Who's the Boss? I believe belongs in S. It's been referenced actually numerous times by Family Guy. One time it was the focus of an entire episode, the Who's the Boss float, and the will they won't they relationship through the entire series. They had such good sexual chemistry, and just you never knew, and I loved
Tony
it.
and
Who's the
Angela.
Who's the boss? Yes, Who's the Boss? Tied together because they go together so well. Different strokes, and it's spin off the Facts of Life. I believe also belong in S tier. These were such good shows. They were fun. They were tied together by the housekeeper. But I loved her. I love this both series just immensely. And then for A tier, I would agree with you on Black Adder. I'm also going to throw Punky Brewster in there because I also watched the animated series. Loved it. And Silver Spoons.
Yeah.
That dude had a train. Ricky Schroeder had a ride-on train. Worth A tier just for that.
You don't forget about Mark Riley and Ben Bateman, who's the boss from the Schmodown. Shout out.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, Austin, you got.
I would second Who's the Boss, and I would also 4th it or whatever it is for Black Adder, and then not for S, but I would throw an A vote for Different Strokes. That'll be it.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, I've never seen Black Adder, so it's one that I probably need to go check out because I've seen all of Mr. Bean. So yeah, but
and Hugh Laurie is hilarious in that show.
Oh, nice! I didn't know he was in it.
Mentioned Hugh Laurie. Damn, yeah, he's
doing more reason to watch it. Yeah, but I would have thrown some love to Bosom Buddies for the A tier. I would have done that. Also, it's the Gary Shandling show. I would have nominated that for A tier. Probably Different Strokes too. I'll say A tier for that one. And I think that's it. So just those ones.
Okay. So let me tally these up really quick. Give me about 15, 20 seconds to do that. Talk amongst yourselves.
I think
Yeah.
Who's the Boss got quite a few votes there.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
no. I'm writing down all the ones that had more than one vote. So give me just a
I remember
second
watching Empty
here.
Nest as a kid, but I don't remember much about it.
I did not enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember
Well,
much about it.
all right. We've only got 3, so we'll have 3 that will get official go round full votes. Remember, this is not a regular round, so we're not going, full time on this. Just 10, 15 seconds a pop as to where you're voting. So we'll start with Blackadder, the one I heard the most. So, Michael, what would you vote for Blackadder?
Oh, wait. So like, where would I vote it at?
Yeah, so this is everybody where everybody would vote these
Um,
these 3 crossovers. So just we will open down like you were doing a regular vote. We're just what tier would you say
Okay.
for Blackadder?
Yeah. I'm gonna put it in A. It's just one of the best,
Okay.
one of the funniest British sitcoms.
Okay, Matt.
I'm going to go with A as well because it is one of the funniest British sitcoms, but it is also very niche. It's one of those not everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with A too. It only had 24 episodes, which is kind of on par for Britain, but I would have wanted more. So A.
They did make 2 specials.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I have the box set behind me somewhere.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
I'll also go A. Yeah, Rowan's great in that, and yeah, it's very niche. But if you like British humor, it's good. So A.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen it, so I can't really give it any kind of ranking. So.
Okay, well, it still makes enough to at least get it up in the A tier for consideration.
Yeah,
so
we'll
we'll put it up there. Mm-hmm.
In the A
It
tier.
had all A's.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right, and the other one we'll go with is old Tony Danza, and Who's the Boss? Michael. We'll just go in the same order. So just
Wow. I'm the boss. No, I have not.
Yeah.
I've not seen this show, so I can't.
Is it you?
I can't fully give an opinion.
That's fair.
On this one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
I actually was won over by your take, and I would actually put it in S.
All right,
Chris.
Yeah, it's S tier all the way. The chemistry between Tony Danza and Judith Light is amazing, and Catherine Howell by far is the funniest. Like, she belongs in the cast of Golden Girls. I think she's that funny, and she's
the fucking boss.
Yes.
Yep.
Mona.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, this was going to be my last S tier nomination for S for Who's the Boss.
Well, for me, I think Who's the Boss is fine. Like, I don't really love it or anything. Surprisingly, it does have kind of a catchy theme song, even though the theme song's not great. That kind of sits in on your head a little bit. But I'm just not a huge fan. Like, I do love sitting and like watching Alyssa Milano. I'll watch anything she does. But for me, like, I kind of got to give it more of like a B. That's just me personally. So.
Okay.
Well,
it's got 3 S's, and it's got more than anything in the A tier, so it might actually scoot into there just by default.
Yeah, might still make it.
So it's got higher grades than
fair enough.
Mama's Family. It's got higher grades than Perfect Strangers. Yeah.
I'm just sad about Perfect Strangers. Might not make it to the S, but
well, we'll see. We've got one more spot. We got 9 spots, so something's going to get the bump. Yeah. So we'll see. But we got one more official nomination that we heard multiple times. So we'll go with Gary Coleman and Different Strokes. So Michael.
Okay, so Different Strokes, I think is how many do we have in the S tier already?
9.
We have 9 right now.
Okay. I'm going to nominate that for the last one in the S tier. I think it's made enough of a cultural impact to go into the S tier. I mean, you always hear
talking about Willis.
Yeah, what you're talking about Willis. You always hear the show quoted, and it's such a delightful television series, and S tier, personally.
Yeah.
I've never seen an episode of the show, but I'm again the whole cultural impact. As much as I really wanted Perfect Strangers to have that final spot, I have to go with Different Strokes for us.
Mm.
Just based
All
on because, like you said, the cultural significance, what you're talking about, Willis, and the fact that they were one of the first TV shows to deal with child pedophilia and stuff like that. Like, it took risks.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Chris?
I feel it's A tier. I like what you said about the reminding that it handled some heavy subjects, but this also comes at a time where you got to remember that these two boys were adopted by this rich white man. So unfortunately, it really comes off as this white savior kind of complex to it. I'm sorry to go so deep with it, but
No,
the
that's
reality
fine.
is that there's a racial aspect to this that is really undertone to it that doesn't hit as well. And I like it. I like this series. And I know it didn't intend that, but it comes off this way. So I have to give it an A tier.
That's fair.
Yeah. Was this actually true, though? In the comment section, Brian says that they had a remake on ABC that had Kevin Hart. Is that actually true? I don't know if that's true.
No, it's a sketch or something.
No,
I don't
it was
come
one of those
on.
specials.
Come on,
It was one of
Brian.
those specials
Come
that
on,
they
Brian.
Oh, it's a special. Okay. I say, how did I miss that? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
They're making fun of how small Kevin Hart is. That's the whole joke.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Austin, what do you think?
A tier. This is just one of my solid A ones I wanted to nominate. So I'll go A. So, but that what? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do I get a vote for it?
No.
No, apparently not.
Yeah.
Host
So,
doesn't get a vote.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna say A tier also because, like, I don't really have a lot to say, but I have seen a handful of episodes, and what I saw actually, bless you, I did enjoy. So yeah, I'll say A. So
that puts it in the A, kind of right near Perfect Strangers, because Perfect Strangers was split almost the same way. So so yeah.
You can do that, yeah. All right.
Okay.
So is that it?
So that's it. So here's what we're gonna do. So first we'll deal with the last slot there, and then we'll start ranking. So out of the A tier, all those ones in the A tier, we may go around the horn and see what everybody would nominate for that final spot, and see if there's a majority situation, or if it comes down to two getting similar votes. We'll then go back and go for those two, that sort of thing. So what would everybody put in that last slot, Michael?
The last slot of
that S tier, or bump for which one from the A tier gets the bump into S tier? What would you bump?
Yeah.
Like, which one would I move from A to S?
Which one would you put in that number 10 slot? Which one would you put there?
Okay.
Out of the A tier.
Well, I mean, me speaking from a personal level and just how much I just love the show as a whole, I'm probably going to be the only person that would say on a personal level, probably Blackadder. But
okay.
Yeah.
Matt.
Oh, it's Perfect Strangers, of course. I'm so happy I get to do that. Perfect Strangers. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Chris.
Wow. There's some good ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes the world looks perfect and nothing to rearrange, but we got to rearrange here. So, Perfect Strangers, standing tall on the wings of my dreams.
Yeah.
I had to fit it in.
Austin? Yep.
I'd go Blackadder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well,
2 and 2.
Well, if I'm the tiebreaker vote, then you already see my screen name, so I got to go Perfect Strangers, like hands down. I think that.
Hey, and now we do the dance of joy.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So it'll sneak into the S tier.
There are two of us. There are two of us.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So now we have to order the S tier.
Okay. Well, real quick, since we've only got 4 in the A tier, we'll see, and we usually do 3 honorable mentions in the A tier. Now, which one of those 4 would you bump out of the honorable mentions? And we'll go around the horn. So we have three will stay in our honorable mentions. Which one would you exclude, Michael,
Oh,
from the honorable mentions? What would be your least favorite out of the four?
I think just because I don't think it made as much of an impact on like sitcom on like the sitcom world and television world as much as Different Strokes and Mr. Belvedere. I would probably say Mama's Family. Now I haven't seen it yet, but I really want to, and I think that it is a great. It sounds like a great show from what you guys are describing, but I just don't think it maybe holds the same level, I guess, as some of the other ones.
Matt.
Yeah, and I'm actually usually doing this based on all the arguments we've heard throughout the night, but I'm actually going to agree with Mama's Family. I feel like it's a good show. I love the show, but it just comes down to the other three probably mean more to the industry than Mama's Family.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
I'm just asking Tyler Perry once, please. Can we get a cameo from Vicki Lawrence's mama as her next door neighbor? That's all I'm asking, please. But Mama's Family is going to get moved down.
Mama and Medea tag team movie.
I love this.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yep.
Hey, Ashley make Medea good, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That's my grandma.
Yeah.
Make a good Medea. Yeah.
All right. I would have gone Belvedere, but that's just me. So,
Yeah.
Jordan.
Well, for me, there's only two that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Mama's Family or Black Adder, so it's got to be one of those. But the one that I would most I'd rather watch would probably be Black Adder, so I'm going to vote Mama's Family to be out.
Okay. All right, so we'll scoot up Blackadder, and then that'll be our three honorable mentions. Will be Belvedere, Different Strokes, and Blackadder. So they will make the poll, and you can vote to your heart's intent. So now we deal with the all-important ranking of the 10. Now this is going to be tricky because, like we said, there was our first 7 there, all the way up to Family Ties, all had perfect sweeps. So. So really, it might just be a thing where we'll start with just by saying what would everybody's number 1 be, and we'll see if we have a majority. So, Michael, what would just your number 1 be out of the first 7?
Oh God, shoot!
Yeah, that's not easy.
Damn. Maybe Cheers. I don't know, like Cheers is an excellent show. I mean, I don't know. It's like between that, Golden Girls, and Wonder Years. It's hard. Like it's definitely between those 3. But I think that because I feel like Cheers is maybe one of the most known sitcoms, maybe that kind of can help it boost up to the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
It's Cheers for me as well. That is on par with I Love Lucy and Friends and what have you in terms of iconic TV series. So it's number 1.
Yeah.
Right, Chris.
Cheers.
Well, Austin.
Cheers. Take a sip.
Yeah. Well, I would have gone with Wonder Years, but I'm not mad at all that it's Cheers. So yeah.
Would everybody be okay with the first 3 being the first 3 where they are right there?
No.
Yep.
Cheers.
I believe Golden Girls. I'm okay with Golden Girls at number 2. I do not believe Wonder Years is number 3.
Yeah, actually, I agree. I agree. I got something else I would put at number 3.
I would go either Cosby or Night Court over Wonder Years myself.
That's what I was thinking with Cosby. Cosby is what I was thinking for number 3.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going with that or Family Ties.
Yeah.
For me, the Wonder Years is my number 1 of the 80s. So I mean, I would absolutely even bump it up. So
I mean, on a personal level, I would say that number 3 is Wonder Years, but
I mean, I'm fine with how it is though. I'm
going to vote number 3 is Cosby. I think just Cosby. I mean, I grew up with Cosby just as much as I grew up with Wonder Years. Both of them are excellent. So
I would go to Cosby 3 as well. Chris,
I wouldn't. I'm
Matt.
not upset with that. I agree. I wouldn't argue that.
Well, I mean, we got enough votes for the Cosby
Yeah.
Show. Sure.
Yeah, and
Cosby
I think
Show.
Wonder
We do that.
Years is 4 is not a bad spot for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
live
I'm
with
fine
that.
with that.
I
Now,
would like to
I'm happy
see
with that.
this is number 5.
I would not put Night
Yeah,
Court above Wonder Years. I would
no,
not.
no. And number 5, I gotta say, because now we're talking here, kind of a little bit of semantics here, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking who Family Ties probably in number 5.
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
I agree too.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Then I would follow that
Family
with Growing
Night
Pains. 'Cause
Court.
again,
I would follow with Night Court.
you think Night Court?
Yeah.
I think Night Court's funnier than Growing Pains.
Yeah, same. I would agree
I
with
think
Night
I think
Court,
Growing
but
Pains.
but-
I think Growing Pains has a bigger overall though, like fan base, I guess, or wider
Well, Night Court
group.
is a show that still has reruns. I don't really see
Yeah.
reruns of Growing Pains anymore.
And it is
I'm
coming
saying.
back. It is coming back. There's
Mhm.
other shows to
Yeah.
do it.
It is coming
And my
back.
feeling at this point is I would move Who's the Boss above Newhart's, and the simple fact, or Newhart, and the simple fact that
Ugh.
we had to bump up Perfect Strangers,
Mhm.
it's gonna have to
wouldn't.
sit at that bottom.
Which
Yeah, it
I'm
does.
good with.
Oh, we knew
Yeah,
that.
it's
We
just
knew that.
sad.
We knew that already.
That would rank Perfect Strangers way higher, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
No,
yeah,
and I get that, but the way we
Yeah.
voted it, you know.
yeah, I totally understand.
Like I said, I'm probably gonna go start rewatching it right after we're done this. Well,
Yeah, right. Yeah, same maybe.
I'm kind of okay with where it's at overall right now, with Newhart being 8 and Who's the Boss at 9.
Yeah, same.
But-
I
Yeah,
would-
I'm
Yes,
still
yeah.
standing with that ending thing. That ending overshadows it all. I'm sorry.
for me, like
I
I put
I
Who's the
would
Boss
put-
at a B tier. So,
I would put Who's the
Me.
Boss after Night Court, actually.
I
No.
wouldn't. But,
Yeah.
Just because
I'm
it's
okay
got,
with
I think it's still, it's still part of pop culture now. Or because, yeah.
yeah, but
I will say this.
is it as good as Growing Pains?
I don't hear
That's the
anyone talk about Who's the Boss, so I definitely think that Who's the Boss. Like I don't hear as many people talk about that as I do Newhart. Newhart
That's
is
true.
definitely
Yeah,
much
that is
more
true. Yeah.
of a cultural impact. I think
It's
that
revered. It's revered.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think
Yeah, I
that
would-
that's much
I
more
would agree.
I think that's much more the bigger show that is much more.
I think it's fine. Exactly how the
It's
list
fine where it
is.
is.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
keep it
fine
like
with where it is.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, they all made it.
I mean, honestly, like I'd even be fine bumping up New Hearts, but that's just me. But I'm fine
I'm
how
fine
it
where
is.
it's at. I'm fine where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can live with that. Like me personally, I would flip Newhart and Growing Pains, but I'm perfectly okay with where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we have a list, so that's probably where it's gonna stand. And so, yeah. So,
All right.
but that was a fun time, guys.
Mhm.
Thanks for jumping on the show with us to talk about these 80s sitcoms. So these top 10, they'll show up in our sitcom championship showing up, and then the 3 honorable mention will just show up in the poll just for fun, so people can have 3 extra shows to kind of talk about a little bit. So,
All right. So should I break it down for anybody listening? Our final kind of what we got going on.
yeah,
What
you
we
gotta
have,
break it down.
for our final, for anybody listening, because we get a lot of people who listen in the background. So our
Yeah.
final, after it's all said and done, for 80s sitcoms, our number 1 is going to be Cheers. Number 2, The Golden Girls. Rest in peace to basically the entire cast.
Yeah.
Number 3, The Cosby Show. Number 4 is going to be Fred Savage and the Wonder Years. Number 5, Michael J. Fox and Family Ties. Number 6, Night Court. Number 7, Growing Pains. Number 8, Newhart. Number 9, Tony Danza's Who's the Boss. Number 10, Perfect Strangers squeezed into the top 10 for all you Perfect Strangers fans out there. And our 3 honorable mentions for this evening are going to be Different Strokes, Mr. Belvedere, and Blackadder.
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah. All right, guys. That was a fun
Good
time.
job, guys.
Excellent.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we still have our best 70s sitcom show still to come. But we had to push it back just because of some scheduling things. So we'll be doing that. I think in like either May or June. We haven't really set a final resting place yet.
But that show's going to be a
that's-
banger too, because there's a lot of great 70s sitcoms, a lot of great ones. So that's going to be almost as tough as the 90s one. It's going to be pretty tough. Some good
We're
stuff.
not talking
Yeah.
about that 70s show either.
Yeah.
No,
so,
we already talked about that 70s show. I think it made the
God, that's
2000s
coming
one,
back
though.
too now.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
90s show. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
let's see. Let me bump the off of here, and also I know that Chris, you got to run, so we can can do your plugs first, and if you got to bump off, you can go ahead and do that. But if there's anywhere that we can find you or anything you want to promote, you can go.
Yeah,
for it.
you can find me on Twitter, on Twitch at Single1984 CINGLE. When I do get on Twitch, I'm actually getting ready to do a 100% run through of Lego Skywalker Saga, a Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga.
Oh, nice.
I'm very
yeah,
excited
get that
for it.
game.
I'm gonna play it on my PlayStation 4, but that's coming. Also, you can find me on my podcast with my partner Brennan, the Mystical Mar, the Star Wars FCL champion, where we talk about random Star Trek. We talk about random Trek every week. You can find it on his podcast, Page Turners They Were Not. And you can also find me hanging out with Mark Riley, Video Drew, and countless other Schmodown competitors through their Patreon as their trainer. So feel free to check those guys out.
I had no idea we ran in the same circles, but never really crossed paths. That's so
weird. I'm sorry. What about that corruption shirt you're wearing?
Yeah.
I haven't. I wore this at work today. I haven't just changed out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a corruption guy. Can you tell?
I bought it. I bought it out of respect for Shannon. That's all I bought it for.
Yeah, don't tell Brian Nussbaum in the comment section. He's a huge corruption guy, but but yeah, well, thanks for being on. If you got to bump off, you can certainly do that. We're just going to do some outro, so whatever you want to do. But
and message me, Soda, about Dr.
Yeah, I already followed you on Twitter, so
sweet.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you. But so Michael, appreciate you joining us despite only maybe seeing a few of these shows. But where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Mega Movies is my YouTube channel name. And I will be on my YouTube channel. I will be doing soon. I'm late to it because it's just things have been happening. So but I am going to start up like a halfway to Halloween thing I do every year, to get ready for some horror content on the channel.
Nice.
And then, I've got a few other shows that I like to do and that I'll be, and maybe even some new shows I'll be throwing together here soon. So yeah, you guys can all be on the lookout for there. And then I also promote it on my Facebook page, The Wolf Pack. You guys can find that where I promote my channel at a lot of times. And then I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, even though I barely use Twitter. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need any guests for the show, know that your friend Ross was hitting me up for or maybe be a guest. So if you ever need anyone, you just let me know. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about many times getting you on Hall of Heroes, which is our, our superhero show that we do. So
yeah, for sure. I'm down for any of that. But Matt, where can we find you?
I might be interested in that. I have the Legion of Superheroes logo tattooed on my arm. So.
Oh, nice.
We have to get you on too, just so you can show that off.
Yeah, I'm a big superhero guy. I got like a comic book collection right there. No, you can find me on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find me over in the Northern Entertainment Group where I appear at several shows over there. Tomorrow morning it is Northern Countdown where we are doing our weekly top 5 list. This week's topic is top 5 movie props we would like to own. You can also find me over on Rewind the Tape where myself and mine and Jordan's mutual friend Ben Rayner are we just go back and we talk about old movies. Right now, we just started the Indiana Jones series, so check that out. It's my second favorite series of all time. I have the Last Crusade poster framed in my living room.
So do you even like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
I like it. I don't love it.
Yeah,
I'm the same boat. I don't hate it. It's not the worst movie ever.
I look at it like it's a 50s C movie, like it's supposed to be. It's perfectly adequate enough. I get what I like out of it. I hate the CGI stuff though. And also on Wednesday nights you can find me on the Squared Slice where myself and my co-host Dustin Dubuque, we just talk about all things wrestling. We just had what was my personal favorite episode of anything I've ever done, a WrestleMania review with his friend Paul Cruz, who is actually a local independent professional wrestler in the Minnesota area, and definitely check that out. And also on Saturday afternoons over on the Let's Get Ready Network on the Dropkicks, where me and Gagan, we just discuss the things that happen. It's the weekly wrestling and review show of what's going on in the world of wrestling.
Nice. Well, you might have a fan of some of that stuff. I know Austin used to be a ref for professional wrestling for a while, so like he's big into that kind of stuff.
15 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was big into watching wrestling when I grew up. Me and my friends would go out on the trampoline every day, and
I still have somebody that I got when I was 3 years old. My Macho King Randy Savage. Probably turn the right. You can see it in the corner over there. In the living room, it's usually back behind me, but in the living room, I have my Attitude Era World Heavyweight Championship belt. Like, I'm big into wrestling. Like, it is my passion. Nice. If I could have a job, it would be the archivist at the WWE headquarters.
Yeah, I would love to be a writer for wrestling. That's one of the things I've always talked about. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Austin, where can we find you?
Well, there's a wrestling show on this network as well here on the Movie Hero Network because, it was called a podcast about wrestling, short and sweet to the point. But Jacob Barber wants to change it to, we're going to start calling it the Lonely Marks Podcast. So that's what we're going to be calling it. And we're going to do, we were going to do an episode the other night, but we had to reschedule. So we're going to be doing an episode late Monday night. And it'll just be our kind of WrestleMania wrap up, recap. I was just talking about it. I'll be a guest on there for that show. It's going to be fun. Myself and Henry Confidential do a ranking show. It's been a couple weeks. He's got a living situation he's dealing with, new setup. So, but we'll get to that very soon. But it's called Let's Rank Stuff, and we rank. We do filmographies. We do franchise versus each other, Alien versus Predator. We just did Indie versus Mummy, stuff like that for some of the smaller franchises. We have a good time over there. So check that out. No strict format of like a top 10, top 12, whatever. We just do whatever we want to rank and whatever we want. It's fun.
Yeah, awesome. And also speaking of wrestling, so myself, I'm a casual wrestling fan. I usually just watch the big events. So I watch most of WrestleMania, but it was a 2-day event, so I watched what I could, what I had time for.
But spectacular. Holy shit.
Yeah, right.
One of the best WrestleManias that we've had.
I agree.
Yeah,
long time. Phenomenal. And the Undertaker's
some fun stuff.
Speech. Oh my God! If there's one of the few places I could ever wish I could go back in time and be at, it was there.
And we'll be talking about why I think Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn should be considered one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
Amen, brother. That was fun. It was perfect. It was exactly what we expected. And I'm glad we got
exactly what it should have been.
And
then with the greatest body slam since Hulk and Andre, with Wee Man slamming Sami Zayn. We'll talk about that on Monday.
Yeah.
We also so Austin actually hosted because being more of a casual wrestling fan, this past Tuesday we did best wrestling tag teams of all time, right? Episode of tournament fights to coincide with WrestleMania. So you can go back and you can check that out and see who they picked for the greatest tag team of all time. And you can go vote. There's a poll up over on the Shoutout Friends and Family with our Elite 8 from the tournaments. You can vote there. But and you can find us all over the social medias at Movie Hero 2121. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, and it definitely helps us out. And if you hit the little bell too, you can find out when we do special episodes, because we usually film Tuesdays and Fridays, but we have certain episodes like next week I'm going to be out of town Friday, so we had to bump the episode we were going to do Friday to the following Wednesday. So if you hit the bell, you can be alerted to stuff like that. You can also find our poll for tonight with our top 10 and our 3 honorable mentions over in the Shoutout Friends and Family group on Facebook. And just a few episodes that we have coming up. So this next Tuesday, we are going to be doing our championship episode. That's going to be a tournament fights, but of only 32 of our best One Crazy Day / night movies. So that'll be a Tuesday. We have a couple of these championships coming up because the following Tuesday, we're going to be doing a championship for our best rom-coms of all time. So we've got another series kind of going. And then we also have our Oscar series going. So we're going to be doing best of the of the Best Picture Oscar nominees from 1977 to 1989. But Austin and I were going through the list, and we realized that like, most people probably haven't heard of a good like third of like all the movies that were nominated. So we're obviously going to have all the winners on there, and then we're going to do a best of and just talk about all the best from that time period. So we got that one on there. We're also doing our sports series championship. So we did 6 decades of no, 6 different sports. So we went through stuff like best basketball movies, best football movies, but best winter sports movies, stuff like that. And our championship's coming up. That's Friday, April 22nd. And then we also have one of our regular panelists, Papa West. He is sent me his top 64 movies of all time. And we're going to be doing a tournament fight of his top 64 of all time. So if anyone listening,
I still need to turn that into you, by the way, because you messaged me about that. Yeah.
So if you ever want to send me a list of your favorite top 64 movies of all time, we'll do an entire episode for you on tournament fights where we can talk about all your favorite movies. We'll vote on them, and then we'll pick a new favorite of all time. Yeah. So yeah,
you'd be surprised. Some people in our community that we hang around, like we all have like top 150, 200, things like that.
Right.
And we have to narrow it down to like 64.
Yeah,
so
right.
I have a very concrete 5. Everything else is very fluid.
Right.
Yeah, right. But then one last episode, we also have we're starting our action series. So we're going to start with the best action movies from 2010 until now. We're going to be going through every single decade with the championship tier ranker to follow. So those are some episodes that you can look forward to. And that's pretty much where you can find us. So thanks guys again for joining us. And I'm sorry that my dad Clyde, he couldn't make it on the episode. He was supposed to be, but he had some major issues with the camera on his computer.
Well, what were his favorites, real quick? if you do you know his favorites off the top of your head, like which ones he would have for us here?
If we were to go for him, he'd definitely say Cheers for sure. I know that was a big one for him. He'd probably say Family Ties for sure. Probably, I want to say he'd throw Perfect Strangers in there. So they're just some of his favorite ones. Maybe Growing Pains too. So there's a few that he probably would have gone for. But yeah, so that will do it for us tonight. So thanks again to you guys, and for Michael, for Matt, for Austin, for Chris, I've been Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and we will see you next time.